Let's go!
And there we are. Wow, sorry about the slight delay, and that's going to bug me. Let me fix that now. There we go, perfect, fixed. Welcome to another session of D&D. With us, the nerds who I decided to call, or we decided to call, We Need a Plan. This is our 5th session, live on stream. Hello. And also on YouTube and whatnot. But, why? See, this is, I mute notifications every time they ping anyway. We'll see if they're still active. Thank you though, Brew. Much appreciated. So yeah, how is everyone?
Good.
Very well, thank you.
Very well,
You sound bloody excited. You're all 10 out of 10 enthused.
Whoa! Let's fucking do this.
There you go.
So many talks in this bar. So many conversations.
Yeah.
Golden common.
Get drunk and eat wolf steak.
Wow, golden legendary. Right. So, yeah, I mean, that's it. That's good going. Because of me, there was a slight later start. I had a long day at work today with meetings and things. But I'm happy to be running D&D for this lot. So, where we were, I guess I'll just give us a quick recap. So, we were, or you guys were, arriving at the gates, I believe, of Vallaki. Or is it just before that, in fact? It was just before that. You were in the midst of a band of fog. Now, this band of fog was set up by none other than Rhea, the rogue, the Edge Genasi rogue, as a big ball of fog was essentially set up to defend the party from a quickly disappearing Strahd. Now, Strahd left, taking with him Ismark, leaving behind Arena, almost tauntingly, and you guys heard sounds coming from the north and south. A fight ensued with a bunch of ghasts and ghouls and a lot of fog. And again, the fight took a while because no one could see anyone, so it was a bit of a clusterfuck. But it worked out in your favour as no one got too badly hurt besides initially before that even started. Whatchamacallit, Trundle, who you got one shot effectively by Strahd, but he got back up, he got healed up, you grouped up, you dealt with the threats, and everyone was left standing. So at that point, you sort of moved on. Arena struggling, but having to accept the fact that if you were to try and claim him back, it probably wouldn't end too well, as proven by the fact that he probably punched down your toughest member. So you decided to journey on through the kind of the hilly, mountainy kind of region of the sort of the Baratov region across to Vallaki. And you moved to Vallaki. It only took a few hours, passing by an old, rather decrepit windmill on the way. You made your way to Vallaki, entered into the gates after the guards have just questioned you as to who you were, what you were doing. And you heard of a thing known as the Festival of the Blazing Sun. That was all the information you got at that time. Zadie was super excited about this, understandably, as it's sort of her thing. And she asked the guards, but got dragged away, from the situation by Guzza, just as a sort of like a, come on, let's get going. So you dragged Zadie away, moved your way through town, and asked where the best place was to sort of like for a taverner or an inn, and got pointed in the direction of the Blue Water Inn. After walking through town, seeing that this was maybe a little bit more of a lively place than the town of Borovia, or the village of Borovia, excuse me. This town, Vallaki, you could hear people moving around, hustle and bustle. Not super busy, but much more so than the effective ghost town that was the village of Borovia. Now, making your way to the Blue Water Inn, you stepped inside, and ordered some drinks, sat around a table, and where I believe it was Guzza, Rhea, and Zadie, I believe it was, congregated to have a small conversation about the situation of all the weird shit that has transpired in the last couple of I say sessions for ease of purpose. I don't think it was necessarily a decision made, but there was definitely like a sort of a wariness amongst the collective as you sat back down, saw a few odd individuals, including like an individual that Trundle noticed to be a half elf, And up until this point, everyone you've seen here has been human. Now, he wandered off after ordering something from the bar. He walked out the tavern. A couple of other individuals were drinking away, and there are a sporadic number of individuals dotted around. But you saw a couple of rough-looking, scout-like individuals who were sitting next to the stairs, and after asking the bartender, whose name you don't have, but I will give it to you, his name's Erwin, you asked for information on wolves and killing wolves and how they had wolf meat, and he pointed you in the direction of those two individuals who well, yeah, I mean you don't know yet, I don't believe, whose names are Soldar and Yevgeny are the names he's given for them. You approached them, Guzza and Rhea approached them. They asked if you could buy them a round of drinks and then you could talk, as they are apparently some of the wolf hunters in the area. And that's exactly where we ended. Is you approached them, you just ordered drinks and brought them back over, including a fresh one for Trundle, and yourself, I believe, Rhea. And that is exactly where we left off. As rain was pouring outside, you found yourselves about to engage in conversation with a couple of rougher-looking individuals, but they are apparently wolf hunters. And I mean...
Sorry, buddy. I think if I recall correctly, the sort of screen faded to black last time on me dropping a couple of double direwolf feet, I think, on the bench.
It did.
So I will start by doing that.
Sure. And as they tumble out, and both of them sort of look at these claws, these paws, effectively, as you drop them out on the table. The longer-haired, scarred-faced individual sits back and just sort of gives a look of, vague approval, whilst the other one gives you an eyebrow raise and just says, "These are rather large wolves you've taken these from. This is not there's no small feat." And he chuckles slightly as he looks at the feet that are on the table before taking a big swig of his ale. So,
may we ask to sit down?
Yeah, I mean, I've taken that you've come and sat down already. And he sort of, he gestures to the chairs and just, by all means, you have earned the right to talk to us. What is it you would like to talk about, friend? You don't look like you are from around here. And he sort of gestures to he actually gestures to your vestiges more than your half-orc visage. But he looks across at both of you.
Visage, really? Let's not give the whole game away.
I nudge him.
It's a word for face.
The wolves. You were talking about wolves earlier.
We were not talking of wolves. It would appear you have been informed of our nature. We are wolf hunters. To some extent, to keep the town a little bit safer. But yes, it is a trade that pays. It helps feed people here. What of it?
Well, let's just say I'm got an interest for him, so to speak. Hunting, that is.
Yeah, and he just
we all do. Yeah.
He sort of just nods and doesn't say anything.
Where do you hunt them?
In the day, out in the woods. And the other guy just sort of nods. They are...
They're big, they're many. I mean, do I know anything about wolves? Can I be like, is it a special type of wolf? I don't know if barn wolves exist, obviously not, but you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, you're aware of wolves, direwolves, werewolves, very different beings in a lot of ways. But if you ask, he sort of just shrugs like to say, "We are just two. We do not hunt bigger prey, if that is what you ask, but we hunt safely." And the other sort of just grunts with approval. You play it safely. It is not worth taking too many risks. And he's sort of the balding looking guy looks across, says, "We have not introduced ourselves. My name is Zoldar." And he sort of again extends a rather calloused hand out from amongst his fairly plain black, dirty but black jacket towards you, Guzza, and then in turn to you, Rhea.
Well, I'm here, Gaza. This here is Ray.
Hey.
This one who doesn't talk too much, his name is Yevgeny. Gaza, Raya.
Eddie.
Do you seek our services? Looks like you're capable yourself. As he gestures to the paws on the table.
It's more like whether or not you got a contract that you're struggling to fulfill. Perhaps we can be of service.
You have service to us. It's not the way we work around here. We hunt wolves and sell it, sell the meat, sell the pelts. And Yevgeny, who you look at, is wearing a stitched, it's rather roughly stitched, long tanned jacket with furs on the inside and around the collar. It does appear that it's rather patchwork, and he sort of just tugs at it slightly and smirks and says, "This jacket is made of well, every wolf I kill, I stitch a new sweat on here." And you look at it, it does extend down to like sort of around where his knees are. These patches not too big. These are more like a sort of symbolic in nature rather than functionality of taking the whole, wolf fur and attached skin to make this. And it does almost have that slight brittle look about it as opposed to the tanned nature and the flexible nature of leather. But it is still a functional jacket. And he just chuckles slightly. No, we hunt wolves when we need to. We hunt wolves when they need to. We hunt wolves when festivals demand it.
Jamboree, yes.
Yes, it is, I suppose, an uptick in business for us. Albeit, well, it is what it is.
So you're saying that hunting the wolves is going to be good for this festival?
The festival is over, no?
Oh shit, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
No, we missed it. We missed the Jamboree.
Yes, but, well, it meant that people were willing to aid and pay extra so they could, the more devout individuals were happy to see more wolves killed than usual. But, no. It is, a job is a job. We hunt wolves because it is what we know.
But do you know of any other potential contracts coming your way?
He just grunts and shrugs slightly. I suppose, you see him contemplating this slightly as, you know, you have ordered him a round of drinks. And they sit there. If it interests you, we can provide information of local, nearby, places. For another round of drinks, of course. Don't give you information for free, no one would. We would be out of business.
I would not expect it of you. No, I will gladly order another round.
Mm-hmm. And they're still like about halfway through their drink, so it just sort of says in time, but yes. What is it you would like to know? If you want to hire our services, by all means, it is and you see him deliberating slightly. You can, I mean, I think you both have quite high. In fact, I know Guzza, you have relatively high passive insight, as it's a wisdom-based skill, correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, you can tell he's sort of like weighing it up, but it's quite clear that it's almost like a bit of an act. A bit of an act to be weighing it up before settling on 5 gold pieces for the day for both of us to serve as a guide, but only during the daytime. You do not want to be out of town during the night. Dangerous, ridiculous. No, I would like to keep the skin on my back. On my back. And again, he just glances over to Yevgeny's cloak, and Yevgeny sort of looks down. So.
Well, that's something we'll have to discuss, I think. I'm sort of looking at the coins in my pouch. Perhaps give us a moment, if you will.
By all means.
Perhaps.
We will be here until... you see him look out towards the window near the door. Again, the rain pouring down. It's slowed down slightly, but it's still definitely pouring, and you can see that it's still light outside. You know, it's sort of the afternoon, and they look out and say, "We'll be here till close to sunset. If you wish to deliberate more. If not, well, you'll probably find us in here." And he looks at Yevgeny. Are we hunting tomorrow? Okay. We will see us tomorrow afternoon. We will be back from a hunt. Unless, of course, you wish to make use of our services and let us know before.
What time do you set off in the morning?
Sunrise.
And where do you go?
Well, if we told you that, we would be out of a job, judging by the paws on the table.
Possibly.
Trade secret. What can I say? Drink does not
Thank
buy
you.
our livelihoods.
A moment, if you will, gentlemen. And I'll pick the 2 wolf feet off the table, put it back in my bag, and stand up.
Yeah,
I walk back to my friends.
Is my wolf steak here yet?
Yeah, I'd say around this time. I mean, it does take a bit of time to cook and whatnot. You hear the sound of the door sort of swinging open, and you see a dark-haired woman, again, sort of similar-ish in age to the man, the bartender, whose name, again, you probably would have got, Owen, as she sort of brings out food and places it out on the table. I believe there are a couple of wolf steaks, I believe. I could be mistaken. But she brings out all the food that was ordered, and Owen sort of looks across to her and just points to your table and the table you're sat at the moment, and the food sort of brought around to you, as you're able to squeeze yourself around the circular table where the rest of your friends sit.
Nice.
I'll say thank you.
No, for the food, yeah. I mean, she brings it round and she goes, no problem. Yeah.
I see my steak. I shall be back in a moment, and I'll nudge Guzza to. He's getting up as well, and go and join the others.
Cool.
Sure.
I would like to, as we're around the table, explain what this talk we've just had with these people, and say whether or not we think the 5 gold pieces is worth for this information and their guide for a day. I want to see what people think.
Yeah, I mean, they did indicate they were happy to provide information for another round of drinks, but for the guidance, yeah. Mm-hmm. So,
when is the festival starting?
you don't. I mean, you haven't asked per se.
I thought I've been given. Well,
sure. In fact, there is a handout for this, but I will provide you with a handout. So
I can't read, but I'm sure someone will.
Yes.
I was given the handout about the wolf hunt jamboree, but that was the only.
Yeah, you're given the one from the wolf hunt, which was a bit sort of folded and creased. I'm just seeing if I can find the handout for you. That I believe it was the wolf hunt jamboree you were given, and that is exactly what it says. You should all be able to see that now. And I'll read it out. It says, "Come one, come all to the greatest celebration of the year, the Wolf's Head Jamboree. Attendants and children required. Pikes will be provided. All will be well. Signed by the Baron."
That sounds not creepy. That sounds perfectly normal.
I think we're going to go see the Baron.
I will get up in that case and ask Erwin behind the bar when the festival of the Morning Lord actually starts.
He chuckles slightly and goes, it depends on the Baron's mood, I suppose, but there's usually a festival. And he sort of, again, this isn't too loud, he's sort of saying this to you as you're across from the bar. There's usually a festival every week, so you see him sort of thinking about it. In the next 5 days or so. You just missed the end of the Wolf's Head Jamboree. So there's a few days yet.
So, like, not tomorrow?
He shakes his head. I would be surprised. You would know about it if there was.
Cool. Well, and then I'll turn back to my guys. I'll say thank you and be like, cool. Well, in that case, I have no problem with going wolf hunting tomorrow if we're not going to miss the festival.
I don't think you will.
Cool.
Assuming you were saying that to him, probably not. But hey, it's too late now.
I'm like kind of on my way back, so everyone would have heard that.
Sure. So you all sat around the table, and yeah.
So, are we going wolf hunting?
Shall we,
I mean,
Trundle sinks his drink nervously.
I mean, it is what we're here for, I guess. So we should probably do that. But also, I will look at Trundle. You probably should, like, not.
So this is why I think maybe we should
you
get
click
some
on
information
things
from them
or-
first before we
Who says
go accompanying them
follow
along on
what
a
it says?
journey.
Do we really necessarily need the bus?
We need that information.
And as you said, a simple round of drinks will suffice.
They seem like good people. Kind of hard to have them along. What's 5 gold for that? Hell, this.
Plus, maybe
Sick.
it's all part of that fortune. Woo, spooky.
Do like
I mean,
Perhaps.
Wait, you guys remember that, right?
Who could forget?
Okay, I'm the only one who couldn't read the shit, and I remembered it. Okay.
what do you mean, the den of wolves in the mountain lake? Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. There's like a lake around here, right?
I don't know. That's why we need to ask them for their information.
Well,
if they know
Are
of
we
a wolf
on the
den.
side of a giant lake right now?
You are, yes.
Yeah.
As you came
I
down
didn't
through
know.
this sort of
Big
barricade.
thing.
Oh, we
Yeah.
saw the lake.
Oh, in fact, of all the people, Zadie's the one who wouldn't know about it, but you would have had it explained to you. Effectively, as you came past where the windmill was, and sort of you got the view
Oh, of
down
course.
into the valley, there was this sort of the almost diamond-shaped town, slightly off diamond, and there with a sort of like a path through the woods running north of it to a large lake, and that's what you could see before the fog kind of rose up, and you could see the mountains jutting out of the fog, but it kind of obscured probably the far side of the lake onwards, so you couldn't quite see where it ended, but you could see that it was sort of rounding out as a lake. So there's a lake right there.
good to know.
Good.
Let's should we hunt some wolves first, though, kiddos?
I think
Perhaps
so.
Fortune.
rest would be in order.
Should we go and ask them? We need
Well-
to.
At the very least, you could ask, find some information. What
Should
cost
we-
is there? Whether or not we accompany them is an entirely different story.
It's a pretty big lake to go wandering around, just hoping to stumble across a wolf den.
It's 5 gold. There's 6 of us here. It's less than a gold each.
Yeah, I'll put one in.
Are we all doing that? I'll have my hand out with 1 gold for already in my hand from me.
I'm gonna put a gold piece on the table and then stand up and go to the bar to inquire about rooms.
I've already paid.
So he's given.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She gave a lot of money.
Yes, you can get money.
Yeah.
In that case, I will merely go and ask, where are the rooms, and which one is designated to us, the group.
As you go up
It's
to Owen
cute.
again, Irina's been sitting here relatively quietly, just kind of like listening, like weighing things up, because she looks a bit vacant. You can tell that she's keeping it together, but you know, her brother being taken by the devil himself, effectively, is not something that someone can take lightly. And as you've just journeyed here, she's been pretty quiet. She does sort of, respond. She's slowly sipping on a wine, excuse me. But as you go up to Owen, he sort of says, unfortunately, if you wait for the weather to dry up, you'll be able to make it there in one piece. He points up through the, this is a rather large ceilinged room, and the set of stairs that leads up on the north side of the building rides up to a balcony where you can see 3 doors dotted along. There's another balcony, meanwhile, much shorter, on the southeast corner, effectively near where the door is. There is and above the door there is a balcony about 15-20 feet long. He sort of points up there and says, "You'll have to go around outside through that door there," and he points to the one on the north side, and that will take you up to that balcony. And you are the. He points to the one on the southernmost wall. There's just one door, and then he sort of points across to the one just next to it. There's 2 in a corner. He says, "That is the room for 4 people. That one there, slightly comfier, room for 2 people. These are the rooms you have for the night."
Thank you. Wait, so the 2 people and the 4 people are the rooms that we have, the group,
Correct.
or do we just? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So who wants to be the 2 and who wants
I'm
to be
heading
the
over to
5?
the 2 room.
I think we need to have as many people surrounding Irina as possible.
I was gonna say the same.
She doesn't object as you suggest that. She just kind of nods quite quietly and just. I think that might be not a bad idea.
And I
Well, why don't we let Bert and Ernie here? And I sort of look at
Who are
Randall
they?
and Richter.
Are those famous gnomes in those kids' books?
It's a great books.
I don't remember these books.
Oh, they were great. Came out like
I'm not
real
partial to
frequent.
reading.
There's also like a big yellow guy.
It was Arakoa.
There you go. In universe now.
So,
Okay, so sorry, how many gold pieces do I have in my hand? I got
Yeah, you've got
Raya's,
one
I got
in
mine,
my-
4, 5.
Yeah.
Is Elrina giving me one, or is Trundle giving me the last gold piece?
she's a bit vacant, but if you're like actually going around asking, she will hand you the gold piece. Probably.
Trundle will put in. He
Okay.
will.
Cool.
Well,
he'll
that
put
way
his
you
way
can
in.
get them a round of drinks and give them 5 gold.
That's the idea.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, if you're sort of explaining that, Arena will she's listening in. She will hand you the gold and just say, "There you go."
Okay, cool.
You gonna come hunting wolves with us, honey? It might take your mind off things. I mean, I know it's not gonna be off things, but staying busy's good.
She looks at you slightly disconcerted, not so much at you, just at the prospect of this. Just, I don't know if I want to be out hunting wolves, but I don't really want to be left alone. She looks around. You are the only people I think I can trust. At least you kill bad things if they attack you, I suppose, rather than run, as most people would do.
That's true. I mean, if you really don't want to go, we can stay in town and just like hang out at the church together or something.
She sort of like shrugs it and says, I'm not sure. Perhaps I could spend some time in the church, but again, I just want to make sure that I'm acquainted there, at least. But I'm capable to fight. It's just...
I know, you look real tough.
It's like, she doesn't quite smile. She almost, like smokes it. Just says, "That's what."
She did
that's
get a
what,
double kill that fight, I believe. Was it a double?
I think so, but she just shirks slightly and says, That's what Dismark would have said. But he would have said it, but still stood in front of me and stopped me fighting all along. No, I will come hunting. It's just... I just wish I knew what my brother had wanted coming here, beyond going to the church and seeing what better people there were here, or safer places, that's all.
Well, I mean, it already seems real nice. They do festivals like every week with definitely no undertones of creep.
She just looks at you disconcerted as you say that. There's like a...
She's
That's
right.
all like, really?
No undertones to that.
I suppose at least there are people here. Just...
They seem to be having a nice time. Like, they're not all hidden away.
Yes, I know.
We
I
haven't
know. Just...
we haven't bumped into a ghost baby in like a full 24 hours.
Did we tell her about the ghost baby?
Yeah, I mean, she just seems like, she just isn't taking on board your humor. She's not like being dejected
It's
about
not
it. She
humor,
just keeps
this is
looking at you
dead
like,
I'm not able to take it seriously, but Zadie takes it seriously.
sure. So, I mean, she agrees to come hunting with you.
Cool. We can go to the church straight after. Be nice. Nice day. End with a prayer.
Do we not have time now? It's not sunset yet.
Is it not?
No, it's the afternoon. Again,
cool.
it's always somewhat gloomy. You're probably struggling a little bit to keep track of the time of day. Like, no joke. Because of
That
your
makes sense.
because of your eyesight.
I can't see.
Yeah.
It's fine. Just great.
But for the rest of you, yeah, I mean, this place is relatively well lit. There are some gloomy lanterns hanging from, like, basically hanging on chains from the ceiling, where the balcony is, sort of just pretty much like ceiling lights, with candles burning away in them, giving this orangey glow to the whole place. There's a couple on the tables as well, despite the fact that it was, early afternoon when you arrived, early to mid-afternoon. It's now just mid-afternoon, really. And although it's always slightly gloomy, and the rain is still going, but slowing down, like I said, some more. you know you've got a few more hours of daylight at least, like or at least a couple more hours of daylight if you would want to go somewhere else.
Cool. Yeah, we'll go to the church then. That sounds great. Let's do that, guys. Church.
Oh, we get to go walk in the rain.
Yeah.
There's a
Big sigh from Trundle.
Yeah. Then he stands up and then immediately sort of moves towards the door.
Let's go.
How much left of my drink do I have?
Depend how you can drain it
I'm
if
gonna
you like.
I'm gonna cast light on my thing, on my symbol, and just be like, church.
So
Let's go.
You do
Morning,
that.
Lord.
You
Yeah.
do that, and you hear a couple of like groans come from the two guys sitting at the table to the south. They look quite similar. As you see them, they do look like they could be related, like brothers or so, same sort of 20s or 30s age. And as you do that, you hear this sort of groan, and they're like, "Hey, turn it off, woman! Come on, it is."
What?
Quite bright
did
here.
something. I'm sorry. I'll turn it off.
Yeah. Just go, hey, that's right. Come on.
I'll do it again when we get outside. Come on, let's go.
I'm gonna pick the rest of my wolf steak off my plate and just be eating it.
Yeah, you've had a bit of time to eat it as you've been discussing, and you're able to all make your way, drain your drinks if you need to. Again,
Sorry.
Mhm.
Yep.
Can I be taking the 6 gold pieces that I now have and then be walking over to Erwin first, quickly, picking up 2 drinks for the 2 boys,
Yeah.
walking over to them, put the 2 drinks down on their sides, and be like, we'll be back later for the information. You're not leaving here till sunset, is that correct?
Yes.
This evening, and obviously sunrise tomorrow.
Yes, it is, but you will not find us unless you wait around on the unless you wait at one of the gates. But we might not be going to that gate if you see us in the morning. So
We'll speak.
he sort of nods and starts drinking his drink. If you don't see us this afternoon, you will see us tomorrow afternoon. We will be here. But if you're paying the gold for the, you hand in all the gold.
No, I'm about to throw him 1 gold because of this.
Yeah, sure. So you,
So
no,
I
that's
flick him 1 a bit.
What's this for?
Let's call this a down payment, and we'll see you for the other 4 in I'm just hearing church, like just singing from behind me.
Yeah,
Shortly,
light flickering on and off. Yeah.
Yeah.
As the others slowly make their way over.
Disco balling behind me.
Yeah.
And I follow out.
So you're saying, what did you say to them? You sort of handed, this is called a down payment.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'll see you later.
And he says, we can be here a little bit later, I suppose. After all, we have some more drinks to enjoy, isn't that right, Yevgeny? And he just sort of goes, through. And then, again, they sort of just recognize the sort of the gesture, give you a nod, and you see them sort of almost rest back in their seats slightly as they drink and start chattering again as you make your way out. Now you will start making your way out again. The rain is still there; it's still lingering slightly. I'm just not doing rain sound effects because it's kind of just background noise. At this point, as you move your way, did I move you guys? I did. As you guys move west from the direction you were given before, you move west along
Rain
the.
looks really freaking cool in blind sight.
What's that?
I bet rain looks awesome with.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It is it's kind of like a constant slight haze, but it's a haze where you can almost perceive individual droplets as opposed to
Cool.
like I don't know. It's I don't know quite how to describe it per se, but it's beautiful in a surreal way. All things considered, being that everything else is pitch black. You know, besides the buildings near you, the occasional person that walks into view and moves on. You make your way west down the central thoroughfare through the town, passing a few more buildings. What sounds like might be a blacksmith or something, just sort of tink, 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 coming from a building with a smokestack rising out of it, a dark black roof of shingled tiles just moving. And you make your way to this large building. Now, this building is bigger than, again, any other building in this town from what you've seen. It sits in almost a cross-like formation, albeit with one side slightly disjointed. And as you approach, although the stone structure is rather grandiose and rises higher than most other buildings do due to its nature as a church, as an open place of worship, the steeple at the back is somewhat bulging, and the actual again the ceiling, the roof isn't quite sagging. But it almost looks like it has a slight curve to it, just from the age as the building is, just weathered and beaten. A few tiles missing here and there, but it's otherwise in reasonable condition. And the stained glass windows seem to just depict a few sort of holy individuals, hands in prayer, either looking up, looking across, looking down, or even looking outwards, just with their eyes kind of staring off, holding a book of prayer with a congregation below them.
Like a holy boy band.
Well, they're not like all posing together, but yes, if they were all in the same window, jammed together, yes, they'd look a bit like a holy boy band as they all stare off into different directions and pout. But besides that, you see behind it there's a wrought iron fence enclosing a rather large, compared to the church in the village of Barovia, a bit larger graveyard here with a few mausoleums jutting out here and there, some headstones jutting out of various age. Some look relatively recent, some look weathered and beaten to the point at which you can't even read what's on them. But a doorway opens up onto the street. A few stone stairs lead up to it, and unlike the previous church where the doors were sort of torn, burnt, and slightly damaged, these doors appear to be intact.
Yay!
Hopefully, no one's keeping their undead vampire son in the basement.
Fuck,
I feel
who told
like
you?
that would be unlikely to happen twice.
Oh, you're unlikely.
Probably just a regular zombie. Knock.
Well, you ask when we go in.
Or like a ghost.
So you head inside?
I mean, do we have? I actually don't know
Yes.
church protocol. Do you knock first?
Well, I mean, as you were sort of standing nearby or approaching the door, you do hear within the sound of a few voices. They just appear to be people talking, not hushed tones or anything like that. Just that you hear the sounds of voices reverberating from within.
Okay, so I'll take that as an indication that it's open.
And there's a faint glow around the door, not like a wah glow, more of just like there are lights inside.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah, well, okay, so I think it's slightly unfair to say you cannot see light whatsoever, but you don't see light in the form of brightness. You just see light in the form of, similarly to like a fog or rain. It has a slight hazy appearance almost, but it doesn't immediately mean light to you, if you get what I mean.
Okay.
It is just hazy.
Okay, yeah, so I'll walk in.
You
Kind of
move
like
in-
drag Rain Arena with me. Girls first.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
I don't like church.
Arena is actually kind of hanging quite close to you as you move in here. Again, you've engaged with her quite a bit, and being that this is where her brother sort of had at least intended to bring her, she thinks. She's almost intrigued and worried and excited. Yeah, there's all like a whole mixture of stuff going on in amongst what is already playing out in her mind. As you swing the heavy wooden doors open, they sort of shudder open into this. Again, it's a church that extends, they're similarly to the church you're in before. It extends outwards a good 20 or so feet in a more narrow corridor with rooms off to one side before opening out into a larger. This one more. I don't know how to describe it. The other one being more horizontal. This is a more sort of vertical, if you get what I mean, from perspective. It's a longer church with pews that aren't broken. They look like they're maybe worn. There's a few prayer, those kneeling pad things. There's quite a few of those hung up. Some look a bit disheveled and rotten. But you see inside about half a dozen or so individuals. Candles lit here and there. A few braziers hanging. With lit torches that just burn and give the place a warmish glow to it, to the experience. You see about half a dozen individuals, about 4 adults and a couple of children near the front on the first, sort of sitting and conversing at the front couple of pews. And beyond them there's a priest. This one more sort of a more olive skin look to them than the sort of pale, flabby Donovich that you saw before. This a more sort of olive-skinned man of maybe in his mid-40s, late 40s. He stands there with very little hair, just a small sort of smattering of grey riding around the side and back. Again, his shiny dome and his priest vestments very clearly indicating that he seems to be the priest of this church, or one of the priests of this church. You see symbology. You see it later than everyone else, Zadie, but from your information that you've already been given that this is a Church of the Morning Lord, you do indeed see sun symbology around this place. Some you can just about make out in the stained glass. You're able to make out the dark frame around the stained glass. You can also sort of sense the symbology of some of the reliefs of, again, some of these holy figures standing there, looking up to the sun, blazing out there. And there is, similar to the other church you were in before, a wooden sun symbol, effectively separate from any of the reliefs, that all of you are very clearly separate from. You can tell it's very clearly separate from any of the reliefs. Zadie, it's a bit harder for you to tell, as for you it just appears to be part of the wall. But you can see this large sun symbol above the back altar, again framed by these faded but still noticeable stained glass windows. And as the priest there sort of sees you come in, he's still chatting, not congregating, but just chatting with some of the individuals within the church. And he sees you come in and gives you all sort of like a bow, a deeper bow than most sort of head nods. But he continues to converse with the others as he sees you all walk in.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna go pray while he's talking to those folks. You guys also do that. You should do that.
We should pray.
Do I have to?
I mean, it can't hurt.
A light shove from Guzzle as he passes through Rhea saying that.
Rhea's
I'm looking.
Face!
I'm sure Shanti won't mind too much that you're here, because they're
They're
cool.
birds.
They're
They're
birds. It's fine.
Speaking of, what would the equivalent to like confession be at this place, or can I do my own thing?
There isn't per se confession. You imagine with some of the gods more closely tied to judgment and justice more than say agriculture, farming, and life and like vitalization. You may find such places where you can go in and effectively atone for your or not necessarily atone, but reveal your misgivings and your mistakes. In that when you strive for perfection, when you strive for not perfection necessarily in like the I am the best person, but that I am a good person. I am like I am good in that nature. I'm the best in being a good person. But in this kind of place, you don't see any sort of box off to the side. You see a donation box sort of off in one corner. It looks a bit old and disheveled and not really used, but besides that, it's a relatively standard church. Just pews, an altar.
How easy is it to open this box?
Oh, it's off. It's quite noticeably off to one side. It's nearest to the altar, but like built up onto the wall. It's a wooden box, and you can see it's kind of got one of those flip lids and a slot in the top for what would be effectively donations. From a
Does it
distance,
seem to have a lock or anything? Or...
What's that?
Nothing.
No. From
does it seem to have a lock or anything, or is the lid just?
Go ahead and make a perception check. No one's rolled the dice yet, so fuck it. There you go. Go ahead and make a perception.
After nearly an hour.
Yeah.
1 second, bear with me.
Well, besides your
last week.
D100s, of course.
Oh, that.
Okay, my whole browser just decided to reload every page in one go.
Yep. F.
So,
That's cool. I mean, that was mainly just to make you make a dice roll, because it's nice to roll dice sometimes. From this distance, you can see that there's it's like a fairly clear bolt on the front. It looks like a relatively heavy deadbolt. Doesn't appear to be anything locking it, though. Just it's there. You imagine it's there almost as like a moral deterrent. Like there is a clear shutter on this, but there's no doesn't appear to be any physical lock or anything like that on it, nor a place to place one.
okay.
I wonder why he's asking that. Sure. So as you all head off to as Zadie heads off to prayer, Guzza follows alongside almost immediately, being understanding.
I'm
mind.
going to the donation box.
Going to the donation box. Okay, so you sort of make your way past where this priest and
I follow.
sure.
So do I.
Cool.
Can I see the donation box?
Yeah, you can see it. It's on the wall. For you, it's kind of just a box, but you, being a religious individual, are aware of what a donation box would look like. this is one. And you see them all sort of head over in that direction. Guzza leading, and the other two
I'll,
sort of.
I'll go with them because I
following.
should.
Ooh.
Are there any
Okay.
pews?
We'll go.
Yeah.
Finally, perception.
So Richter, what are you up to? Whilst
Are there any pews? Because I'm
yeah, there's plenty. There's about
I
8
will
rows
just-
of pews near the front of the hall. The back end of the hall is a bit open. There's one of those sort of candle racks, the kind of thing you'd, again, there didn't appear to be any donation thing for it, but where there are a few candles that you could light and place, and above it a simple mural of worship of the sun.
I will. I'll sit in the pew close to the back and the most emptiest.
The most emptiest, sure.
Emptiest and furthest away. The most emptiest.
Yeah. So Zadie, you kind of head off to one of the again. Well, where do you head off to? I suppose like in.
I mean, if everyone else is going to the donation box, I'll go there as well because I should.
Sure. You see Richter just sit down at the back and start looking around a little bit.
I'm in quiet contemplation.
Sure.
That's good too.
Yeah, for you it's relatively quiet. You can hear the chatter in front, but you're far enough away, a good 30 feet or so away from everyone else, plus even further from your friends, that you're able to sort of get a relative moment of peace and quiet with the thin sound of rain just hitting the windows and tapping on the ceiling. It's gentle enough that it doesn't break your focus on nothing, if you get what I mean.
I haven't got track marks on my hand from where I've been juicing, have I? I mean, I'm just curious.
On your arm?
How long does it take roughly? Because I've been doing it to my. I don't even know I've been doing it anywhere and everywhere, I guess.
Takes a little while.
I mean, depends exactly where you've been injecting bloods into yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, you would do, especially from the fresh one. Prior to that, I mean, it depends entirely. It depends how frequently, that kind of thing. And yeah, no one can see it at this point anyway. But you will head over to, besides Richter, we'll head over to the donation box. Again, it sort of sits there, a thin line of dust sort of lines the top of it as you approach.
Okay, I put my bag down and I'm going to take out, first of all, I'm going to take out another one of the 6 of the gold coins. So I've given 1 to Wolf Boys.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've got 5 left. I'm going to put another 1. I'm going to first put 1 in the box, 1 gold piece.
Cool. And it sort of, you hear it sort of, well, you let go of it, and there's a small pause before it just goes, dum 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 dum. So tapping against the wood of the box. Sounds like it's the only coin in there. And as you do it, it almost breaks the relative quiet for just a brief moment as it falls in, as you see the priest sort of turn his head up and go, oh, 1 second, please. And he sort of gestures to the others. He comes over and goes, with quite a smile, like looking over at all of you. He sees you there with your hand on it, effectively, as you place it there. Yeah, and he goes, oh, excuse me, there's no need for any donations, my friend, but it is much appreciated. I suppose we haven't had a donation in quite some time.
Can that be the gift for when you get a donation, by the way? That one, that was 13 seconds of you being like... Sorry.
I wanted to make like a stream.
Holy fuck, that's amazing. You haven't received a donation in a while. Please donate. Yeah. No, fantastic. Jesus
And it
Christ.
has to be with like, the little hand clap.
Yep.
Yeah.
On you now, Ian. It was all on you.
Fuck, you just destroyed me. So
And I would like to, as well, after putting the coin in and him being like, hey, bro, thanks for the donation. Can I take out 2 small metal pots, which has some soil in, and which I put some seeds in as well, snow, and just place those in as well.
Sure. So you play. So you
water often.
So you've got this pot with this soil, and you place the seeds in as well.
Yeah,
And you're
because
handing
you
it to
just
them.
chucked that in the donation thing.
Hmm?
Just loads of seeds into the donation.
Oh, you put it in the
box, just
don't.
No, I put it into the
Tub,
pot.
right? Yeah, okay. I was like, wait, he didn't say that, did he? So you have this, yeah. But you have the box. Sorry, the what? It's like a pot.
Metal pot,
yeah.
small little metal pots.
Yeah. And you put the seeds in, and what are you doing with it? Sorry,
I'm just going to put them. I think if it is just going to rattle down. Actually, I don't think I'm not that smart. Yeah, I'm going to put those 2 things in as well, and you'll probably hear these 2 things rattle down into the box.
Yeah, they just fall in and then ding ding ding. So it's effectively you're putting in a pot.
With some seeds.
How big is this? This is like the entrance to the donation
It's
box.
Small.
Okay, yeah. In that case, it can fit in. I was gonna say it's like a letterbox effectively kind of size, and you're able to
Yeah.
you drop it in, you shoot it, ding ding. There's a scattering of dirt as well, just inside slightly.
I think sort of I would have done this before. I think I put things like this in donation boxes, so it's a size that I know that's a normal size.
Sure, I'll say the dirt's compact enough that it doesn't like burst everywhere. But again, it still is like a good, from the top to the bottom is a good foot and a half.
I mean, you could just,
and it just
open the lid, which doesn't seem to
well,
have
no,
a
I
button
mean,
or anything.
effectively the lid seems to be part
open God's lid,
of it, but it's the front that has the bolt on the front, and the slot at the top. Again, you're able to put your fingers in enough to just let go, and you hear it again. Probably falls over, but that's about it. As the father says, "No, you don't need to donate. May I catch your name? Sir, what is your name?"
Oh, I do not mean to interrupt. Guzzer is my name, and these here are my compatriots. And I sort of hand out and then sort of point over to the most emptiest pew, except for Richter, and start walking towards him.
Okay, sure. So you just effectively kind of not blank him per se, but he's like, and you just sort of like,
No, I said Guzzer at the start, did I not? Sorry.
Yeah, you did, but then you just headed off. Effectively, is what you're saying.
No, sorry, walking towards him.
Towards where?
Towards
He's right.
The guy who's asking the question.
He's right next to you.
Oh.
Yeah, he's approached you as you did this. He heard it. He moved over.
Sorry.
That's right.
Then I shake his hand.
Yeah. He sort of unexpectedly he puts his hand out as well. You get the sense he's not particularly strong from the sort of your hand dwarfing his and kind of the strong weak shake as he grabs your hand. It is a pleasure. My name is Father Lucian. This is the Church of Saint Andrel, dedicated to the Morning Lord. And he looks across all of you, and as he sees you, Zadie, again, his eyes catch because you've actually lit this thing up, right? So in fact, it's fucking blazing everywhere. He would have noticed it straight away, in fact. And he looks across at you and just goes, "Oh, madam, I do not think I know you, but I see you're a similar worshipper of the Morning Lord. It's good to have other devout individuals here. But like I said, Gaza, you say, it is honestly okay. I don't know what to do with the donations. Honestly, it has been so long since someone has been able to afford the coin to donate.
As if you don't get one in 6 months. That's that one. Sorry. Yes, I would like to remain quiet and just walk away and go spray. I'm done.
I noticed that there are a couple of tiles missing outside. How much would it cost to get them repaired?
He sort of says, "Tiles missing outside." Oh, you mean on the roof? It is not our concern. This house is safe for one and all. He says quite loudly, sort of like, almost proudly. But as he says it, you kind of see him look at you, Zadie, and then look at Guzzer as well. And there's like again, no insight check required. You see him kind of hesitantly, he doesn't look. It looks like the words had conviction, and they don't anymore. And he sort of looks at you both and just says, "You are." And he sort of again looks at you guys again, not recognizing any of the symbology on your garments. I don't mean to offend, Gaza. You say, who is it you worship? It does not seem to be the Morning Lord, but nor do these look like the clothes of the Night Mother. It is most unusual."
Oh, we're not from around here. We have other gods where we're from.
He looks quizzically, but there's like a sense that maybe he kind like it seems like whenever that kind of thing comes up, whenever this sight of a half orc, an air genasi, like an Asimar with bandages over her eyes, a tiefling,
normal people,
and a weird looking human, this like people seem to look at you slightly obscurely. Those that sort of do even look at you, but like it seems to be not too like there's not too much of like a whoa. It's more of just like a curiosity than anything else. And you get the sense that this is a similar sort of reaction. There's a sort of like a okay, I sort of understand.
I cough. It is Chantia, but you may know her as well as Earth Mother. and I just show him the symbology.
He looks again at the. I believe it's a sheaf of corn, right? A sheaf of wheat.
It is.
Yeah.
Which is what I carry.
And he looks at it and says, I'm sorry, I do not know this Earth Mother, but it seems you have.
Oh, she's real neat.
I was going to say, it seems this god of yours has good intention. At least you are donating to a church you have never stepped foot in before. It is much appreciated, nonetheless. But you can have your coin back. No, there's no problem. And he goes to sort of reach over to the deadbolt and starts sort of like pulling on it again.
Sure.
A little bit stiff from age. It sort of stung and slams the metal again, reverberating just from the like the slidey bit, as the rest of it's made of wood. Before you
Surely you can make use of it somehow. Like you could buy new cushions. You could have a clean of your organ. I assume you have one. You could buy one. We could give you some more money. I love singing, or some new hymn books maybe.
I snort when she mentions cleaning the organ.
Yeah. You look around. There doesn't appear to be an organ, unfortunately.
You could buy one. How much do they cost?
I don't think there is an organ maker anywhere near here, but it is a nice gesture nonetheless.
The next party quest: build an organ.
He opens up the box. He opens up the box, and again, there's like the pot sort of off to one side, the seeds near it, and the single gold piece in there. You look inside there. There's like 2 copper pieces just sort of wedged in one corner, almost like in where the wood is slightly slanted away from itself and stuck in there. And he just kind of almost ignores it, and he takes out your gold coin and sort of hands it back to you, Gaza. Like,
or you could buy new candles, or you could get yourself some new vestments, you could make some pamphlets. My daddy always made pamphlets.
Perhaps you could even buy a lock to your box.
It is not like we need the box, not a lock for the box that no one uses.
Or you could start a choir. There's like, I can list some things that churches can do with money just all day. Hire lawyers when you.
Trundle.
Oh, and daddy's been around.
We do not have many people here during the day. Some come here to play.
So definitely candles then.
Some come to play here at night, of course. I mean, you cannot blame them in this place, in this town. But he sort of holds the coin sort of earnestly in one hand. He says, I will accept this on behalf of the church. It is much appreciated. I will find a way to put it to good use. And he looks at both of, again, looking at the collective 4 of you that are there as Richter sort of off in the back. Says, might I have a word? As he looks at you. Again, this is being directed towards Zadie. He's slightly kind of obscurely looking at you because of your, situation. And looking at you, Guzzer, as well. Is it okay if I have a word?
Yeah, sure.
And he sort of gestures just to behind the altar. It's only about like 15 feet away or so. But there's like is
he trying to separate us from the others?
Not aggressive. Well, I mean, like, yes, he's not aggressively. He's not like,
taller.
fuck off. Yeah, he's just like, sort of gesturing, sort of, like, if you don't mind, just want to speak religious man to religious people, if that's okay. He sort of looks at you two.
Is the giant image of the sun, is that where they're going? Where is that behind the altar?
It is. It's above them, about
Okay.
so 15 feet or so up. There's a effectively like a bench with a high back against the back wall.
Okay.
But it's not particularly ornate. It is pretty standard. It seems like quite a few benches line some of the walls, a bit like the pews, but this one has a high back that rises about 5 or so feet with a bit of design along the top. And he beckons them over. Sorry, what are you up to? Rhea?
I'm gonna sort of hold Trundle back if he, or sort of just grab him by the sleeve.
Ruff on his neck. Ruff. That's the neck, I guess, in this case.
By the scruff.
So,
And-
Buddy.
Oh.
Push to talk, mate. You're on
Push to
Push
talk.
to talk.
Oh, it's the wrong button.
nice.
It wouldn't be a D&D session without you doing that at least once.
What, someone.
Every time, man. Oh man. Well, at least hopefully we won't have any more car noises. Yeah, no. If anything, I won't be leaving the actual church. I'll be sort of making my way towards Richter, if possible. So I mean, you're welcome to grab me by the scruff of the neck or whatever.
Which way does Arena want to go? Because I'll be like, oh, she's supposed to come here anyways, so.
She is lingering near you, and the father sort of looks at her and says, I think I'm Irina, no? And then she sort of looks like taken aback, so he says, and he again looks at her again and goes, I saw you here when you were very young. Must have been older than 7 or 8. Time flies. You were a little scared girl back then, but you seem to have grown into a accomplished woman. He sort of gestures to the art, the sword, the nice garb. So it looks across like, how's the village of Barovia doing? And she just kind of looks down and sort of awkwardly says, our father has passed, and my brother has been taken by Strahd. And again, the father's face drops slightly as he looks across at all of you and just says, I am sorry to hear that, Irina. And again, she seems to not necessarily recognize him, but her being in her mid to late 20s, this is going back a good 20 years or so. It's the kind of thing that a man who, as a younger priest, might recognize, from recalling the memory. I am terribly sorry to hear that. But well, we will keep you safe here if we can. And he again pulls back to behind the altar. But that is what I would like to speak to you about, if that is okay. As I have said already, and you might be aware, this is the Church of St. Andrel.
Am I familiar? Is that a name that rings a bell? No.
Nope.
Cool. There are a lot.
Yeah. And he sort of says, I do not want word of this to get out, so you must be sworn to secrecy. And he looks at you both earnestly and then to Irina, and she just sort of again
I'll turn my light off.
nods. Sure. Sort of dims the area quite considerably, but there's still candles up in the area.
Secret time.
Yeah. He says, that was going to carry the noise out of here. No, he sort of looks at you and just says, this is the resting. It's supposed to be the resting home of the bones of St. Andrel. They protect this place. But a week or so ago, he sighs slightly. They were taken by whom I do not know. They tore up the floorboards, and he gestures in front of the altar. You can see, as he sort of points at it, as you see that there are the other individuals who are in here congregating are still there, just chatting and it seems almost like a social thing, albeit there is always a slight look of worry across all of their faces pretty much the whole time. But he gestures to a spot in front of where the altar is, to this sort of cracked these floorboards, and you can see that there's a section where some of them have been what looks like recently replaced. The wood is slightly fresher, slightly lighter than the rest of the wood there. And he just gestures quickly over there and says, someone came and tore the floorboards up and took the bones of the saint. Did not know that anyone else knew about it, save for one individual, but he sort of sighs and says, it wouldn't have been him. So, he's told me he knows who took it, but... Or who else he told, but...
Sorry, he who?
He sighs again and looks down. There's an altar boy here. His name is Jeska. He's an orphan. He has a bedroom here and stays safe, but I mentioned it to him a month or so ago. He was scared, and I wanted him to feel safe. I wanted him to know we are under the protection of a saint. It was during a thunderstorm, and he was worried, but he's the only person who I told, or who knew, and I know he wouldn't have mentioned it out of malice. He is but a boy. He is a good-natured child, but he's the only one who knew, to my knowledge, at least. And he gestures sort of... Oh, sorry, go for it.
Knows who took it?
Hmm?
He says he knows who took it.
Yes, I questioned him, but he will not tell me who. I have suspicions, but I cannot accuse someone based off of a gut instinct alone. But
Do we know who this guy is?
The child.
Yes.
you never heard of him, but are you asking?
I will do, yes.
Sure. He sighs and says, "Well, yes, he's probably reading at the moment," and he kind of gestures across to the back end, the far end, the entrance of the Church of Saint Andrew, and just says, "He's in one of the rooms to the left, the first room on the left before you leave."
Man, we had to talk to him.
He sort of, again, he looks across at you, just again recognizing, acknowledging your nature as a religious individual, and just says, "Might help, I suppose. Without the bones, this place is. I just worry for what this place is."
Oh, you shouldn't.
In a place like this, I think we should. It would be best if we can
If I've
recover
learned
them.
anything, it's not what's under a church that's important, it's the people in it, and you seem mighty fine, so I think it'll be fine.
He smiles honestly at that. It is appreciated. What? I didn't catch your name. Sorry.
Oh, I'm Zadie.
Zadie. Thank you. It is much appreciated. It is. The people who come here are scared. It is rare that I have someone else who is tries to be optimistic at least. And he looks at both of you, not just Zadie. And he sort of less glances at Arena, but specifically at you two. Yes, come. You can ask him things, but he is young, and I would prefer if I was there. Just please don't be too intrusive on him. He's just a young boy.
Sure thing.
And he sort of nods and says, and again, please do not mention this to anyone else. It is your friends maybe, but only if you can trust them implicitly. For a word of this to get out is, I just fear what it would do for the congregation. They come here at night to feel safe, and if they find out that the very thing protecting them is not there anymore, well, I just, for them to lose their faith now is a dangerous thing, and I only wonder what the Burgermeister might do when you have a festival coming up celebrating this, if he was to think that all was not well. He just sighs. Come, let's talk.
We'll get it sorted for then.
Sorted.
So I can't.
It's a possible word. Yeah. No. Of
I
all the
keep
things.
trying.
It's sorted. Yeah, it's impossible.
I don't know what that is.
No, it is one of those words. It's really difficult.
That was going to go very English for a second.
Sorted.
Then.
And he sort of leads you again to the front end of the church and sort of opens the door to where you find a room similar in size to the room that was being used by Donovich in his church. This one has a small wardrobe, a set of drawers, a small bed, and sitting at this effectively a writing desk is a young boy in simple garb, just a white shirt and simple sort of trousers that cut off near the ankle. This young boy, his hair cut very much like a bowl haircut, looks to be no more than about 8 or so. and he's just sort of looking through a book of prayers and of psalms of songs of prayer, and you see him kind of mouthing the words as he's reading them, as the door sort of creaks open, just as Lucian steps in and just says, yes, girl? And he says, looks up and goes, yes, father? These nice people would like to speak to you, if it is okay. It is about the, and again it closes the door, about the bones, and immediately you see like a look of like sheepishness like wash over the young boy Esker, as he's sort of sitting there, and he pulls his hands together, closes the book on the table, pulls his hands up, and he just sort of says, we can talk about them if you like, but I don't. And he starts to get a little bit nervous. He says, hey, it's okay. Just if you try and help these nice people, they will bring them back. And he sort of looks at you earnestly. They'll make it safe again. And he sort of just like nods quietly and just looks up at you.
Well, hey there, sport. And I'd like to sort of squat down next to him.
this big half-orc face just up in his head. No, but he sort of he again just looks up like nervously at you. Hello.
Well, what are you reading there?
Again, he looks at the book, and you see on the front cover again, it's just a picture of a blazing, like a sun in full flame, and there's no text on the front or on the spine. It just says it's a book of prayer to the Morning Lord. He's
well, that I'm sort of just looking around, trying to ask Zadie for help with my eyes. That sounds great. The Morning Lord sounds wonderful.
So good. Could you read me what you're reading?
Thank you.
He nods slightly and goes, okay, if you must. And he flips the book open and starts just sort of reciting effectively a tale. Similar to how the Bible isn't just books of song or psalms or whatnot. It starts reciting a tale of how there was a group of individuals who were devout supporters of the Morning Lord, and similar to the dreams you've been having, sort of lost faith one day when the harvest was poor because the sun didn't shine on them. And again, as he's reciting this, it does ping on both your radars, I suppose, due to your connections to your gods. Before he, again, the tale tells of how the sun was shining, the crops didn't grow, and they sort of waited and prayed. They had a starving winter where most people suffered and some died. Not without strife, but eventually the next harvest came around, and it was the most bountiful harvest that had in years, and it fed everyone, it kept everyone happy, alive, and that without that prayer, without that year of suffering, without that year of struggle, they wouldn't have been able to make it in this, like, to where they are now. And it was sort of just effectively inferring in a slightly militaristic way that prayer is good. And believing in your and giving faith to your God is a sensible choice. Again, it seems like it was perhaps for younger people, for kids, for teenagers, but the information's there nonetheless. And he sort of finishes the story, and you can see him kind of as he's reading it, and you're there, engaged in his reading. He seems to come out of his shell slightly, and he sort of ends the story, despite it being slightly dark in tone. With almost a smile on his face, but he kind of looks across at you all excitedly and says,
That was real good.
Thank you.
Hold here. Just
make a performance check, you motherfucker.
Yeah. With pleasure.
Oh shit! Okay. The tear just rolls down, cresting over the cheek before pouring down this side. As he sees it, he's sort of like you see the kind of like the sadness in his face, and he starts kind of welling up slightly, almost empathetically starting to cry, but you see him just sort of close his eyes, and again the moisture just builds, but he kind of blinks it out as he sees your tear and kind of rides with it in a way, but he sits up there looking at you both.
So I'm sure my friend Zadie, and I point to Zadie and myself, I would love to hear about more about this bone stuff you can tell us. I'm just trying to lead the conversation just to So he tells us a bit more right now. He's a bit more relaxed.
Sure. Go ahead. I'll say either go ahead and just make a persuasion check yourself with advantage, or if you want to, both of you roll separate persuasion checks.
I'm pretty
do an advantage.
I'm pretty
Wait,
persuasive.
it's either one of you with advantage or both of you
Yeah,
not with
you
advantage.
do one with advantage because you're the one doing most of the talking, where I was sitting and smiling and trying not to look too scary.
Yeah, so you're basically helping. Yeah, that's I think it makes sense. Okay, 19's pretty good. You see as he sort of like, again, looks nervous, but again with the kind of, having seen you listen to a story and like engage with him, he sort of looks up and says, "I didn't mean for it to happen. And you see as the father sort of like leans over to him and says, "Hey, it's okay. You can tell them. You can tell us. We'll help find them and bring them back." And he sort of nods and says, I didn't mean to mention it, but I was scared, and he asked me what I was excited about, and I mentioned it, and I don't want to get him in trouble. He's nice."
Oh, don't worry. Ain't no one in trouble. We just want to set things right.
He nods. "Father, I mentioned it to Milivoj." And you see the father's face kind of like nod empathetically, but you can see him furrow his brow slightly. I mentioned it to him. He was putting away his tools for the day, and it's the only person I told. The only person. I promise. I
That's
promise,
okay.
Father. And the father's like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Thank you. We will have to. We'll have to see what Milivoj has to say. Don't worry, he won't be any trouble. And again, yeah, you just look and you see Jessica sort of like again bordering on tears as he's saying this. He's like, "Please don't get him in trouble. He's nice to me at least. And lots of people not so nice."
Can you tell me what he looks like? Can you tell me how tall he is?
The father sort of cuts you off slightly and says, "It's okay. I know who it is. Thank you. You're earnest. The Morning Lord looks kindly upon your honesty, Eska. It is honesty is important for if we are to have faith and hope in one another." And he sort of just nods. Says, "Now go on, get back to your reading. I will bring food shortly. It's close to your bedtime." And he sort of nods. He looks at the two of you and goes, "Please don't." Again, he looks kind of nervous. He's wringing his hands a bit, but he sort of smiles to you both, like nervous smile, kind of thing. Like as the father sort of like, "Come, we shall go to my quarters to speak." And he leads you outside.
It'll be okay. So I'm talking to the kid. I was like, "It'll be fine. If you want to come and talk to me and talk about the stupid things I did when I was living in a church, just come on, give me a bell." I managed to get all our donations stolen one time. It was not good.
He looks at you as you say you live in a church, and his eyes light up slightly, and he just goes, You live in a church as well?"
I did until I was about your age.
Oh, that's exciting. I don't know anyone else besides the father who lives in a church as well.
Mm-hmm.
And again, sort of like he leaves him with a little smile on his face as you make your way out the room, as he sort of just says, I will." You realize like it's pretty difficult for him. He sort of says, I will come to you if I need to talk." But you realize that he has no idea how to. It's something you probably think about afterwards as you're leaving the church later.
I'm just expecting to be in the church all the time now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he sort of nods and says like, okay, and then he's just like, you see, like as the door's closing, he's kind of thinking like, wait, how do I? And then the door's shut, and you don't think about it until later. And the father sort of again, his face drops slightly. Again, it's more of like a slight pained, almost frustration and sadness than a pure anger kind of thing. He just goes, "This is what I thought as much." And he leads you again across the way to his quarters. Similar looking room, bigger bed, more symbolic, more like direct symbology of the Morning Lord here, as he sort of sits down, perching on the edge of his bed, just sort of resting, nearly standing. So he just puts his head down and says, Milovaj is the grave digger for this church. He's just a young boy. He's not yet had his 18th year. He's had a tough upbringing, and yet he's honest work here. But I haven't mentioned it myself to anyone else, and well, as young as he is, I trust him to be honest. I trust Jeska. He's but a boy, and he's innocent. It can't have been him. You needed someone with strength to ply up those floorboards, and as much as it pains me to say it, Milovic is a strong boy. And you hear him sort of effectively give out an expletive, just as he just says it under his breath, like hand coming up to his forehead brow. I don't know what we must do, but
It's okay. We'll have a talk to him if you want. See where he's got it hidden. Teenagers do stupid stuff.
yes, but this is toying with the bones of a saint. It is not. It's not easily forgivable in the eyes of a running lord.
Well, ain't not lucky we got one of the best right next to us. I point towards Zadie.
Yes, I appreciate your help in this. I mean, I didn't want to push him, but I'm getting desperate. I worry for what could transpire if those bonds are not returned. That is all. But thank you.
So, where can we find this kid?
You see him think. He says, well, I think he will be out in the graveyard now. Actually, it is. He's probably resting up in one of the huts. We had one burial this morning, but he's not had much else to do. But his job is his job. He still needs to be here, tend the graves from time to time. You may find him out in the graveyard.
Okay. I think we should go do that.
Yep. I'll nod and start moving that direction.
Mm-hmm. The rest of you, what have you been up to? As the two of you that are still out there, make your way. Well, the two of you that were out there with them, make your way towards where Richter is sat, sort of contemplating, sort of staring off into the middle distance. Are you up to anything in particular?
I'm just gonna sort of say to Trundle in particular, because Richter's still busy getting wrapped. I'm just gonna say, you heard what he said, right? This is the house of a saint.
Yes. Yes, I heard that.
This is a place we should be looking for, and there is a great big sun there.
So then, yes, perhaps this is the place.
Will we go and have a look? Are they leaving? I'll sort of watch as they head off to...
Yeah, it matters not. I'll make headway to just go and have a little snoop and just look around, regardless of if they're watching or not.
Sure.
Handles
So I
really
mean,
good shit.
yeah. The father and the other two, with Irina, who's again just kind of couldn't really contribute in that. Just watching is you see as they go behind the altar for a bit, which is still very much visible. The altar is waist height, as they just talk, huddled in the back of the church before making their way sort of past all of you through to one of the other doors, and you sort of see them go inside for a little while. Again, their conversation isn't sort of active as they move near you, but you see them move across and go in there. That is go for it.
Yeah, I followed Trundle over to the sun.
Sure. You make your way up to the front end of the church, which I don't know quite how to describe it. The altar end of the church, where there are a few symbols of the sun. Go ahead and just make a perception check or investigation. In fact, make it investigation.
Both of us, or
Yeah, sure. Both of you. You're both moving around. Richter, are you up to anything in particular at this point as well? Just
Nope,
contemplate.
I'm just gonna sit there and continue watching everyone else do their thing around me.
Sure.
We have an interesting relationship, me and the gods, so I'm keeping it.
Sure thing.
It.
I'm just gonna quickly pop the bathroom, so I'll just be 1
Laying
minute.
low.
So if you guys want to pop the bathroom as well, feel free. Just be a couple of
Right
minutes.
now?
Yeah, not a full break. I just need to pop the
Okay.
bathroom, but we
Oh,
can continue on afterwards. I just wanna.
Oh god, that's scary. Hold on.
I'll
Oh, are you leaving the stream running with just us?
oh god,
Oh
I
god.
would say
luck.
yes.
Fucker.
oh my god.
You'd better be entertaining.
Oh god, I'm so scared.
The gang, the group, the people.
I am actually gonna run away. See you in a second.
See you in a second.
4 and 4 weeks
Fourscore and
ago.
some millennia ago, I
we-
invented into this house of madness.
So how come Richter's not good with the gods? You just don't quite see eye to eye.
You know, you have to ask him, wouldn't you?
Well, I'm.
That?
Gaza would have to ask him to find out.
Yes,
Harry's
oh,
asking
yeah.
him.
Yeah, well, Harry would also have to play the game
Yes.
to find out.
Sure.
Don't
What's
give it
going
away
on
for
with
the
What's
audience.
going on with Guz's face changing?
What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Gus
What am I
is
talking
perfectly fine.
Then maybe it should stay that way until it happens in game.
Guzda has. Oh, I'm so upset you were so close to me, damn it, Rhea. Like, have you moved 5 foot, like, east out of the line? I was like, I'm safe from everyone here. No, you're like, I'll come a bit closer. I'll see what's
It's
going on.
me, and it's me,
Yep.
the most unscrupulous one in it. And just
Thank you.
Yeah.
Most non-scriptures and yet intelligence 13. I mean, I'm going to say there's not a comparison
excuse
there,
me,
but still.
my intelligence is 14.
You've gotten 14 intelligence now.
No,
That's
I
actually-
always had 14 intelligence.
Oh, really?
You might be dangerous.
Yes,
You might be smart. That's the real thing.
I'm the smartest person here, which is not saying a lot.
I find it odd. That,
Sorry about that. Just really,
Especially when I roll
really.
shit on my investigation, despite. I'm super smart.
And now I don't know what you guys have just said whilst I wasn't here.
We're trying to be entertaining.
Discussing
Fairly
interesting
miserable.
character dynamics in the party.
What dynamics?
We have to find out as we play.
I was
Nothing.
I was being an arse.
Rude.
Yes, correct.
An arse.
An
That's
arse.
new,
An
yeah.
arse.
Yep.
Being a perfect arse.
An arse, as we.
it's not an arse we see on screen, is it, guys?
Can be if you like.
Careful. I could get Ian
If you
back
donate enough.
right now.
You're live in the house, please.
So, Ellie, is it hard to stand erect with a broken leg or not?
It's quite easy, I can show you.
Sure.
No, my dream. No.
For his
Alright.
next
Sorry about that. We're all back though.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Investigation rolled.
yeah, so 15 is pretty reasonable, and 9's not so great. It's not terrible, but it's not fantastic. As you sort of look around again, you spot a few symbols of the sun. Trundle, the one that stands out to you the most noticeably is the one in the back center of the wall, above the altar. You know, to be honest, the one that stands out to both of you the most. The one that's at the back center of the wall. It's about 8 feet in diameter. As you sort of stand there and look up at it, it's not huge, but it's big. You know, like up on the wall, similar to how a Christian church would have a large cross on the back, sort of on the wall itself. This stands there as a sort of symbol to remind you whenever you sort of pray in this direction or pray at this altar, it is for the one of God. Again, I'd say maybe the 9 isn't such a representation of you not investigating well, but you are investigating in different areas and just checking around. Whereas Trundle, you fixate on this somewhat. It does appear that, you know, it's not welded to the wall, although it's sort of too far up for your reach just standing there. It starts about 10 feet up on the wall and rises about 18 feet. The ceiling itself being a good 30 feet high or so. This being a vaulted church, effectively. but it doesn't appear to be like bolted to the wall that you can see. There's no sort of screws or anything on this side of it. It appears to be hung on the wall, where you see like a sort of dictated by the fact that you can see the top of it leans out ever so slightly in terms of if something was hooked. You get the idea of the way a picture frame sits, the bottom frame of it. Yeah, the bottom frame of it sort of sits flush against the wall. The top of it hangs ever so slightly. It looks like that, effectively. But just staring at it, I mean, that's the only one you see that really stands out in that regards. There are other ones smaller and sort of head height. You prod at them a little bit and they move and whatnot. But, you know, I'm assuming based off of the way that Rhea is investigating this at least, and probably by extension into Trundle, there's nothing behind any of the smaller ones you see. You're sort of able to prod them a little bit, they wobble, you lift them up, this wall.
And the wall that it's attached to, to the right or to the left of it, are there any doors or anything? Or
no, it's like an alcove at the back of the church, effectively about 10-15 feet deep. The altar sort of in the centre of the entrance to it, about 5 feet on either side. The altar itself, about 5 feet wide. And again, relatively simple in construction. It all seems to be solid stone that comes up. Some carvings of suns for obvious reasons, as well as a couple of praying individuals on either end. The top of the surface is just smooth.
And perhaps the floor around it, as I walk over it, am I able to discern if it's all still stone or if there's a different material underneath?
It all appears to be stone. Again, it's just...
Cool,
sorry, the actual floor itself, apologies. There's like a very small step up next to the altar, or like the altar itself, maybe a foot or two of stone around it. Then it is wooden flooring, as previously mentioned. It's all wooden flooring from front to back, the whole church.
Okay. That opens a few more questions. I mean, am I able to discern whether, it's more of like a hollow sounding floor anywhere? Is there any other? Is there a downstairs kind of that I can just tell by walking over this place or something like that? I mean, I don't know if that's going to be included in a perception check or whatever, or investigation. Sorry. There's probably asking much.
So as you're checking around, no, it's not asking too much. With a 15 investigation, I mean, you're tapping around on the floor. It appears to be, like it's not solid. Obviously, it's not the same as say a stone floor, but it generally doesn't appear to be like hollow beneath. You can kind of see through some of it, at least in some sections, to be just like what looks like a compact ground or earth underneath the floorboards. But the floorboards are relatively tightly packed. What you do notice is the section in front of the altar, which hasn't been pointed out to you, has been pointed out to the others, but hasn't been pointed out to you or Rhea or Richter, as a section of the floorboards which looks more lightly coloured. Like it's faded less over time, like it has had less time to be worn in. And again, as you're focusing on that investigation, you're able to discern, and I'll say Rhea, you're around that area, you're looking at the pillars that support the ceiling nearby, that section does appear to be hollow. It's hard to say exactly how wide, but it's not particularly wide. The faded, the floorboards which appear to be in, I'll say recently replaced, appear to be no more than about 10 feet square, not even.
Then likely I don't know how much of this Rhea totally notices, but I'll likely try and stand near around the floorboards and sort of look at her and give it a little tap. Give her a little.
Eye. You are maybe 5 feet, 10 feet from a small congregation of townsfolk who are all sort of there congregated. Again, if that changes your action by all means, but they are watching you all sort of just look around, look at the sun, sort of. You don't need to do anything to hide what you're doing. You're very much just looking around quizzically.
I'm just a tourist. I'll get my camera out.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah. You get the idea. Sort of looking around, kicking things, just examining them.
Go into a church and kick stuff.
Well, not kick more than just kick your feet, kick your heels.
No, absolutely. Sorry, I was
No.
being facetious.
Yeah. So yeah, you look around, and again, Ray, you notice this. You notice him sort of standing near this thing and effectively gesturing to it and dropping his heel into it slightly.
Could I, seeing this, can I and if I hear that it's hollow from him, sort of giving it a little tap with his foot, I'm going to cast Mage Hand and see if I can push it up from underneath, just to see if there's any give
You
in
need
it.
to be able to see where you're casting Mage Hand, unfortunately.
Do I?
I believe you
Oh,
do.
hang on.
I could be mistaken, but
I'll Tap on it and see.
yeah, we'll see. I
You're
believe.
welcome
I believe
to come
you.
over and
You choose within range. Okay, so effectively, you're able to cast the Mage Hand. It does seemingly appear in a space beneath it. You have no context on where it is exactly, besides below the floorboards, or what's around it, and it is invisible. You start to sort of push up. Again, it can exert a force of effectively no more than 10 pounds. It's not very much. I mean, you hear a creak maybe from it as it pushes up very slightly, but that's all. You just hear the sort of... It's the same kind of sound that you'd hear, but lesser than the sound you'd hear by just walking across floorboards. Even ones with a solid ground underneath.
Okay. Then I'm going to come a bit closer, kneel down, and start.
I'm gonna awkwardly stand in front and just sort of,
I mean, they're along both sets of pews at the very front of the church, chatting, and you're standing
awesome. I put my
between
high
them.
vis on, get my clipboard out, and pretend I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, you're a health and safety inspector. You're OSHA certified. Yeah, so you stand there. What are you doing, Rhea? As Trundle sort of stands there, like whistling and sort of looking around, like, huh?
Just smoking a cigarette that's not there, trying to act super casual. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just tap on different parts of the wood. I'm trying to work out where the actual sort of break between just solid wood and hollow wood is.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a subtle thing. It's impossible to be subtle in the centre of a church where a couple more people have filed in sort of further back in the church, just sitting and chatting, holding candles, as it is gloomy in some of the more central areas of the church where light is sort of a bit more distant. Also, Richter, you notice, besides a couple of people entering in and sitting in, 2 or 3 rows ahead on the opposite side, just sort of chatting quietly. You also hear, and because you are effectively contemplating, you hear Guzza, Zadie, Irina, and the priest sort of leave the room that they're in and head to another room across the way. As you're doing this, Rhea, one of the individuals who's there seems a bit more sort of aware than some of the others. Sort of goes like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Just again, as you're sort of on the floorboards.
One second, that's a bit quick, guys.
Yeah,
Sorry.
That's all right. No. What are you doing?
Came through the church.
I might actually spring into action and say like, "Oh, it's fine wood, fine oak, is it not?" Then I'll just sort of like look at Rhea like, yeah, oak, like question mark.
Yes, but some of it is rotting away. Do you hear this? I'll tap on some of the solid parts.
Go ahead and make a Go ahead and make
This needs some work on it, I think.
Go ahead and make a deception.
Can't do it.
Go ahead and make a deception check.
Is that both of us or just her?
It's you, and it's with disadvantage.
Both of us with disadvantage.
No. Just the fine wood we got there. Yeah, it's good wood. You almost saved it with the but some of it's rotten. But unfortunately, yeah. Go ahead and make a roll with disadvantage there.
Great looking wood over here. Yeah.
Go on.
Mine doesn't seem to be rolling. Give me just a second.
Roll twice, so that's a 10. Unfortunately,
the
first one's a crit, but you have disadvantage.
The
so.
first one's tits.
Yeah.
Oh well. That's so sad.
The 10's still not.
Pesky wood.
That would have been so good. I would have really had my high vis on, hard hat, really acting the sort of like, all right.
Yeah, unfortunately, you don't say it with enough conviction, and as one of the individuals who spoke up says, "You're not the carpenter in this town." What is?
But I am a carpenter. No, I don't.
No, he says over your shoulder towards Rhea, and he looks at you kind of strangely. This is a guy who looks like he's in his early 30s, very plain dress, like a dark blue tunic, effectively. He seems to have what looks like a wife with him, and one of the children seems to be sort of sitting with her as they just stare at you. And the other grouped individuals there, about 3 or 4 others, sort of look across to you, sort of. And he just continues to question, like, no, you're not here to look at the floorboards. What are you doing? If you're not here to worship or pray, then suggest you might want to leave. He sort of stands up, like, kind of fairly, like, he's a stocky-ish looking guy, but he's not an adventurer. He just sort of like looks at you, both of you, and just stares at you.
What do you care why we are here? We're here on business, and we're waiting for our companions.
I'm going to cast message while I'm sitting there watching this sort of go on.
Yeah, I mean, you're far enough away that you can't really hear the conversation taking place, really, but you can see it for sure.
Yeah.
Taking place, yeah.
Like, can I see this?
It looks a bit confrontational, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it looks confrontational. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna cast a message to Trundle and just tell him, stop what you're doing, agree, leave, don't draw attention.
So, and this comes through this message of Richter's voice, which I imagine throughout knowing each other, you would know how message works.
Yeah.
And you would be aware of the fact that you can reply. Again, you can't just reply with your mind. You do have to kind of whisper into your hand, effectively.
Do not respond to this message.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But the message comes through as this guy's sort of parading a bit. He goes like, "It does not matter. You're kicking away at the floor here for no reason, in front of the altar. I suggest you leave before I go get the father." I'm sure
I did not mean to interrupt your breath. Rhea, let's take our leave. And I'll sort of nod and half bow a little bit extra to the guy and sort of take my steady leave.
Yeah.
And then really eye Rhea and be like, fuck off.
I actually give him the finger as I go past.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I will do.
As you sort of do this, you seem like you've almost taken the wind out of his parading sails slightly. As he sort of says like, "Don't do that," and you're like, "Okay," and he's like, okay. He's about to sort of be like,
I use this opportunity, if possible, to use the remaining reply to message to reply to Richter and say, it wasn't me.
Yeah. As you sort of do that, and he's sort of like, he's like, yeah, perfect, cool, and he
walks away like,
as Trundle moves past, and you sort of just turn back to see Rhea. As you brush past, he sort of looks at you to sort of almost be like, "Good day," like not to say anything, but sort of be like, as if like I've done my duty as community watch kind of thing. And you just sort of just full on blast him in the face. You hear this like, "Oh."
In the house of God.
Yeah, basically, it's sort of like this, like horrified, just like, and you hear the gasp come from the people on the bench as well who are watching this display, disappointment. But no words come out more than a sort of gasp and frustration as you move on, and then you send your message back to Richter. Richter, you see.
I just shake my head as I come walking back towards me.
Yeah, there's a lot of light behind them, so effectively you get a silhouette of Rhea just going. To this person, and as she moves on by, you make your way back to the back of the church, and this is around the time that Zadie and Guzza and Arena and the fathers have come back out as you're all kind of close to the back of the church. Like I said, a couple more individuals have entered in, just sat down, just seem to be a couple of villagers effectively who are chatting away. But as you regroup at this point, the father's sort of standing there as you reconvene. He just sort of looks at you all and says, especially before you even regroup, he would just say, please don't do it, like to the two of you, Zadie and Guzza and Arena, but directed towards you two, as Arena's just kind of lurking near Zadie. Just please don't hurt him in any way. He's a foolish boy, just like you said. Teenagers do stupid things, and but
Don't worry about it. How about while we go out and talk to him, Irina, if you stay here and talk to the father and see if you guys can work out some stuff?
Should you go ahead and make a persuasion check? Just a flat check.
Oh no. Do I have to do disadvantage?
No. I'll say no because it's to someone who trusts you in a way. Like, again, yeah. You otherwise it would be because you are disconcerting. Oh, that was with disadvantage as well.
That's still fine.
Yeah, that is still fine. It was the first roll as well. The second roll was a 21. But
Shame about that with the deception, huh?
Well, have better lies. As you sort of suggest this, you see her kind of like look apprehensively, but she nods and says, I suppose I can stay here just for a little while.
I mean, we're just going out. We'll be back.
Yeah, she nods and says, okay, I'll stay here. Again, there is like a look of uncertainty, worry in her face. The father says, don't worry, we'll take good care of you. No, I actually knew your father a little bit before his passing. Of course, I am still sorry to hear that. But and then they sort of the conversation tails off as they move off. They move towards the front of the church again, where the others are. And Irina sort of trails off with him. Sort of again, her eyes constantly sort of looking back to where you guys are as you regroup with the other three. You do hear, as you're still in the church, as the conversation goes on, you hear a bit of like a raised voice from the front of the church as there's like this, again, the same voice as the guy who confronted you, just has a bit of, you hear him having a bit of a go just in the distance. And it does help to just put just a little bit of a smile on Rhea and Trundle on your faces, just knowing that you've stirred up just a little bit of annoyance in this goody two-shoes. But you will regroup at the back of the church.
Hey guys, do you want to go intimidate the sin out of a small child?
Certainly do, but at 9 o'clock I'd like to go for a fucking piss first. So...
Well, I was about to say, so as you decide what you want to do next, we will go ahead and take our break, which is going to be about 10-15 minutes long. So bear with us, we'll be back in about 9:15, whereupon we will see what the party chooses to do. But no, I
It's gonna start a church fight.
Yeah, why not? Just kill loads of innocent, poor bystanders. Why not? But like I said, we'll be back in 15 minutes. So I still, I will do it this week. I swear. I will update these because these are all fucked. That's on me. They're all level 3, not level 4. That needs updating. And additionally, I will set up a be right back screen. But in the meantime, you get to have the intro screen again. So we'll be back with you guys in 15 minutes.
Yay.
Peace. And welcome back. Thank you for your patience. We are here. God damn it! We are here to to continue this here D&D game. We're back from our break, so hold on to your butts because things are obviously about to get crazy. No, so here we are. Everyone's in the church. You've just finished your conversations. Richter still sits there contemplatively. As the rest of you sort of congregate at the end of the pew in which he sits, and you all effectively reconvene together. What would you like to do?
Are we finished? I'm just gonna sort of look at them.
No, we have to go talk to a teenage boy.
Milivoj,
Why?
I believe his name is.
Milivoj.
Yeah, about some anal
Mila-
butter.
Come on, Elliot. Elliot.
I don't know what that is. You just randomly threw that in now.
No, I said
Hold on. Okay, so
sounded
we should
interesting.
explain all the context.
No, let's not. Let's not.
There is no context.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. We need to go
otherwise we'll be here for.
talk to a teenage boy.
Why? And don't say anal
Church
butter.
stuff.
Shut up, Trundle.
Trundle shuts up.
How many people are around us, like where we are?
None. There's like some people about 3 pews up, but that's still like a good 15 or so feet.
Okay, so I'm just gonna like stage whisper.
Sure.
We heard he took something from the church, and we need to go get it back.
What do you think they took the thing that we might want? Thing that we might be looking for?
No.
How
Also,
do you know?
don't
took
take things
something
Also,
from
we've
a
talked about
church.
taking things from churches.
Well, yes, but the mystic woman and the thing she said and the
Oh my!
treasure. What?
We have discussed that that's ridiculous, like hooey nonsense. But this is real, and this kid took a thing, and we need to go get it back.
We can do that afterwards at least, jeez. Hello, Chantier. I don't think I'd say cheese. Hello, Chantier.
Oh, jeez. We'd still say cheese, I think. Probably has like
Maybe.
different etymology.
Ah, cheese. I think I misheard it once and thought that was it.
That is it.
There you go,
That is it because Jesus isn't a thing. So
What did he take?
We'll tell you on the way out.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll head out to where we were told this kid is.
sure. So you make your way out of the church. Again, stepping outside. The rain's more or less given up, but it's getting towards late afternoon. The sun's still there, It's getting gloomier. Shadows casted are longer, and the gate, so the iron fence that encircles the churchyard, sort of does give this kind of almost this maw look, as the teeth of the fence kind of create this giant pit almost, as it looks. But there is a gate, a mere sort of 15 feet or so round the edge of the fence, which is unlocked. It's sort of one of those lever gates that you're able to just open up and squeak open as you step inside the graveyard. I'd say because of the sort of hand waviness of some of the conversations, you would have been told where the hut is. It's actually on the far side of the graveyard, near where the church is, but along the far side of the wall, where there's effectively a small hut.
Cool. Cool.
And why is that unmuted again? Makes no sense. As to why that's unmuted. Sorry.
Why not?
Yeah, I don't know. So it's alongside the where the church is, and you come across what looks like it's like a backyard shed, but it's open. There's a little mini porch about 5 feet or so at the front, in which sits a young guy, stocky looking, dark black hair, very much like a sort of a bowl-ish cut, but at the front it's somewhat parted. It got a couple of small scratches and scars along the side of his face, just small ones, and wears a simple sort of off-white tunic as he sits there with a shovel sort of rested next to him in one hand, sitting on a small stool, effectively a stump of wood, about 2 or 3 feet high. Just sort of sits perched on it, looking out, and as he sees you trudge over, he sort of, he sits there observing, leaning back, rather sort of pinched face, as he looks across at you. Doesn't say anything. He just watches. But you're able to approach, no problem. There's a few gravestones dotted obviously around. You're in a graveyard, but there's enough far and away from this thing.
Okay, I'm going to point out that Zadie's going to be notably uncomfortable in the graveyard. Like, notably uncomfortable.
Understandably.
Are there any graves being dug? And
I hope
can
not.
we not fuck with that? Take it.
There are not any graves being dug. He has a shovel in hand, and looking at it, it's sort of wedged, maybe an inch or so into the earth in front of the hut, as he sort of rests his hand on it. You can see that it is slightly dirty. It looks like it's been used to dig relatively recently.
I think seeing Zadie noticeably nervous, I'll grab. Do you have like a free hand, or do you always hold the mace in it?
No, it'll be like on my back.
Cool. Okay, well, the free hand, I'll just grab it and then walk towards the shovel bearer.
Cool.
And is this Milovich?
Based off of
please.
your knowledge of him being a teenager, I mean, you weren't really given a description per se, just who he is and what he does. But based off the fact that you were told he's not yet 18, he looks to be in his late teens, that sort of age. He look again, like I said, his face is somewhat pinched. He looks a little bit brooding as he sits there, and you see him kind of. Before you were here, he looks like he was probably just staring vacantly out into the distance. But as he sees you, he sort of again looks up, not sort of saying anything as you approach.
I'll just sort of tuck Sadie into the ribs and just sort of like whisper and say like, I believe that's the boy. Do you want to, or shall I? Just walking slowly over.
I can, I guess. I'll
Yeah, my pleasure.
You swoop in for these. Yeah. Howdy.
No response. He kind of looks at you. But he just looks at him.
Sorry, what's his name again? I'm never going to be able
Milovich. It's in
Vodge.
it's in chat on thingy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be like, so I'll be like, Milovich, right?
That is my name, yes.
Hi, I'm Zadie.
I'm Gerson.
These are our friends. It's Ray, Trundle,
So
Richter.
eyes you all, and you see him kind of like pull his hand to the shovel. There's just a bunch of people sort of approaching him in the graveyard who look different.
Oh, there's no need for that.
He sort of pulls himself to his feet again, just standing in the doorway of this shed, the archway of the very small porch area. You know my name?
Yeah, we've been talking to your father in the church there.
It's not my father,
No, he is the father.
but he's not my father.
Okay.
Is he? He doesn't seem to be very interested in like how the church works. I mean,
You don't like the church, honey?
Church gives me a job, but he just kind of shrugs.
You got like tea in there or anything? Can we have a chat?
What do you say you've got?
Tea?
Oh,
You got
no.
tea in there?
He just looks back and there's a shut door behind him. He's just tools for digging and burying people. And you sort of look, you see next to the side of one of the houses is a wooden wheelbarrow as well. So next to one of the houses, next to the shed that he's in, there's a wooden wheelbarrow as well. Sort of again.
Is it empty?
It's empty. It's uncovered. But, I mean, there's like smatterings of dirt within. It's probably used to port earth around.
Oh, well, I know how that goes. Do you mind if we have a chat? Can we chat in here?
Says there's nowhere to chat. We can chat right here, though. Hi.
Okay.
What do you want to?
Is
talk
anyone
about?
else around?
No one
Can I
else.
be
around.
looking?
No.
Perfect.
We heard you're like real nice to that kid in there. Little one.
So just
Says
shrug.
real nice thing about you.
The son of the priest?
No, he's an orphan.
Oh. No, I thought the kid was there.
Uh-uh.
Oh,
There's
no.
little kids as well.
He sort of looks at you and says,
Don't say that.
"What about Yaska?"
He's real upset at the moment.
He sort of shrugs and says, "Can you blame him? Look at this place."
Yeah, it's got a lot less safe recently, huh?
He just shrugs and says, "I don't think it has ever been safe."
No, but the kid thought it was.
The kid is young. He has not seen the horrors of this place. How this town can chew you up and just spit you out.
Sounds rough. What are you talking about? We only just got here. We don't know.
Yes. You will learn in time, I'm sure.
All I know is the kid thought there was something in that church keeping him safe, and then gone now.
He eyes you. What are you talking about? This
Alright,
church
can I
is
roll
a
an insight to
church,
see if-
nothing more.
Can I roll an insight to see if
Yep.
he knows what I'm talking
Sure.
about?
Yeah,
By all
can I
means.
as well?
I'll say, yeah, you can both roll, just standard.
While they're doing that,
Oh, unless
the-
I'll give him my advantage for.
sorry,
One or the other, yeah.
Go for it.
the layout is the hut sort of standing on its own, and he's sitting out the front of it.
So it's about 15 feet from the edge of the church, and it's about it's not much wider than a door. There's a door in the front of it that leads back. There's about 10 feet of shed, and at the front there's effectively just a small alcove that shelters the very front and has a little wooden frame to it. And he just has a wooden stump stuck in the front of that, where he's from any sort of rain. Just looking at him, you can see that his trousers that are effectively dark grey are they're clearly wet from the sort of knees down. As if he was sitting here, he'd probably have most of his body sheltered, but the rest of his trousers would have just been in the rain, and they look still to be slightly wet. They're sort of a darker grey from the knees down. However, with a 24 in insight, yeah, I mean, you can see him eyeing you slightly nervously, perhaps. He's feigning ignorance to an extent, but yeah, you get that there's obviously more there. That he's quite reserved.
While they're doing this, I'm gonna say, don't have time for this. I'm gonna turn around and start walking away, and then when I'm a slight distance away, I'm going to duck behind the gravestones, and I'm going to start trying to sneak around the periphery to the back of this hut.
Okay, sure. I mean, you go ahead and just make a stealth check. But whilst that's happening, okay, Zadie, yeah, you get the sense that he's not telling you the truth. Well, not necessarily not telling you the truth. He's just being rather reserved. Quiet.
I think I'm sort of giving her advantage, so I'm just sort of like trying to let him continue this conversation, just trying to just get a little bit out of him. Well, I think she's sort of stepping back a bit, but just to sort of try and engage him essentially. So, well, that sounds awful. And what about, and just point to the next grave next to me. You can tell me a little more about Ada Wolfhaven here, stabbed with a pitchfork. Sounds mighty awful.
I do not remember the people who were buried here. I just do my job and get paid a pittance, and
there's no one here you know?
There's not by name. No.
How long have you been working here?
Why does it matter to you?
Why wouldn't it?
Why would it?
I'm just interested in people, especially ones who take care of little kids and feel safe. You know?
I do not take care of Yaska. He lives at the church. I work at the church.
He says you're nice to him. It's important for little kids to have good role models, you know?
He shrugs and says, I'm not a good role model, but better than that fool in his mansion running this place.
Is that the father? Or
Not
the
this, no, and
burgomaster?
he gestures to the church. No, not here. Yes. Mr. Valakovich is an idiot.
Oh, we don't know. We ain't met him yet. What's he done that's so stupid? Seems to me that this town's doing a bit better than other places around here.
It's all relative, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you asking me all these questions? You have plenty of other people in this nice town to speak to, no?
There are, but...
And again, he sort of leans back a little bit because he stood up. He sort of, having stood in the doorframe, he kind of leans back and just, again, hand just on the top of his shovel, just kind of leans on it a little bit.
There are, but there's only like one person who knew about what was keeping this little kid safe. It's not anymore.
What are you trying to suggest?
I ain't suggesting nothing.
It sounds like you are.
You seem awfully abrasive, friend. Relax.
Whoa.
Whoa.
It's interesting someone so young can be so cynical.
You see him again, sort of eyeing you all kind of nervously, hand on his shovel, just...
Again, there is no need for that. And it wouldn't do you much good anyway.
He just, again, sort of looks at you all. Doesn't know
You're
quite...
just gonna have to have faith that we don't mean any harm here. We're just trying to help this little kid out.
And again, you see the kind of look across his face. Somewhat nervous. Change to sort of... Not change, but... Layer on a bit of fear as there are four of you surrounding him as Reyes have ducked away. He sort of just leans back a little bit towards the door, not moving fast or anything, but sort of steps back maybe a couple of feet into the alcove.
Did you tell anyone about what the kid said?
What did the kid say?
About what's been keeping him safe?
Just shrugs. Don't know what you mean.
I roll another insight.
Yeah. In fact, I'll say it carries with the 24. I mean, you get the sense.
Nice.
You get the sense. You get the sense that he doesn't know what you mean by that. Effectively, doesn't know what you mean by the thing that's there's a look of confusion mixed in with a slight sort of creeping fear of these threatening individuals surrounding him. But there's the look of there is a genuine sense of like he doesn't know what you mean by that.
You notice anyone who shouldn't be at the church recently?
And he sort of just looks at the four of you there.
Other than us.
Hey, would he have seen us going to the church, seeing as he's all the way out here?
No, he sees you
Maybe-
in front of him
It's
now,
true.
surrounding
Now.
him.
Yeah.
Maybe like a week ago, was
Blade
there
drawn.
someone who maybe doesn't come around the church that often?
I'll say just go ahead. In this circumstance, go ahead and make an intimidation check with advantage because there's four of you surrounding this guy, and the undertones of what you've said have been pretty threatening. Meanwhile, Rhea, in this time, you're able
Yeah.
to have made your way around, sort of just darted behind a mausoleum, and then sort of because it's,
Oh, we
it's
would have told you guys what we were looking for on the way here, by the way.
Yeah.
Good to know. I'm
Well, I had asked.
Oh, by the way.
several times. Yeah. Yeah.
sitting here like, well, I don't know what we're looking for, so I'm just
Yeah.
gonna keep being cryptic like everyone else.
Yeah, we said we'd tell you when we got outside, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did
Yes.
click intimidation, but it was a while ago. So.
Sure.
Oh.
Well, I mean, okay. In the meantime, either way, Rhea, that was a
That's
that was a con
positive.
save.
What?
That's impressive.
What?
That's a con save with
That's
advantage.
actually
rolled it
impressive.
3
They're on
times.
very different parts.
Oh, I've only
of
got it
the
once.
sheet.
Have you done 3?
That's impressive.
What
I
the
only see
hell?
it
I don't
once. Okay. Anyway.
Did you do double advantage or something?
3 con
Yeah.
saves.
Yeah.
with
You are
advantage.
doing
it again.
advantage. You're doing advantage plus. There is just advantage on your sheet.
Okay.
Advantage plus is
there's
wow.
the intimidation check.
There are
Whichever
effects.
one comes from there.
Well, sure.
Five.
With the first 2 rolls, it would have been 5, 15, and 5. So it would have been 16. Yeah, it would have been that. But make sure you select just advantage, not advantage plus. 'Cause
yeah,
that would
I've
be
got that on now. It was
Cool.
just the one next to disadvantage.
Yeah, which is disadvantage minus. There's 3 rolls and take
Yeah.
the lowest. But whilst this is
God.
happening, regardless,
God damn.
Rhea, you're able
Yeah.
to sort of have made your way round a mausoleum again, purely because of his attention is definitely drawn to the 4 people directly in front of him. You're able without much issue to make your way across. You do notice as you're sort of moving around, perched along the edge of the church itself on the roof, which is a good 25 or so, like the start of the roof at the edge of the building is about 25 or so feet up. You see 2 or 3 crows just sort of perched along there, hopping along, seemingly sort of just eyeing the graveyard, just hopping about, pecking away, but they seem just to be lurking along there. But you make your way round. You're able to, even with a 13, because of the nature of where he is, sort of in an alcove, you're able to make your way around the back. The rest of you do spot, at least those of you who are slightly more perceptive, maybe less engaged in the conversation. Richter, you definitely spot her. Trundle, you definitely spot her. As Rhea sort of effectively comes around to the back of the shed, probably pretty much along the iron gate, so the iron fence. The back of the shed is just the back of a shed. But you are
There's
able
no
to.
window. There's no.
No window.
Wait.
There's
Okay.
just the back of a shed. Again, it's wooden. It's not in the best condition, but there's no like missing planks, fallen planks or anything. So it is still standing. But you are still behind where he is. Effectively, he probably would have seen you, and he hasn't. Again, in the moment, he hasn't questioned where you've gone, but you are effectively behind the shed.
Sorry, is this the guy we think that took the bones, or we think saw who took the bones?
Well, the father thinks he took it, but
Sure.
I'm willing to
List.
listen to, because he might have told someone else. Because the kid told him.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
told
sure.
someone else.
So yeah, I mean, you as you're sort of standing around again, surrounding him, again, it sort of dawns on him what you're referring to. Just again, he kind of sighs, like picks up, like again, slowly picks up the shovel, not in a threatening manner. Just kind of picks it up and just sort of pushes it to one side, like inside the corner of this wooden alcove, the front porch, effectively, of this small shed, and just says, "What is it? What is it you want to know? Are you talking about the bones beneath the?" Yes. What about them?
Do you know where they are?
I knew where they were. Yes.
Do you know where they've gone?
Yes, I know where they.
Where did you last see them?
Look, in a town like this, it is not easy to care for a sister who's not cared by our mother. Like, I was offered some money. I mentioned it to an individual who, well, asked me to get them for him. He offered to pay me. And am I to refuse what would be 3 months' wages on getting some bones from beneath the basement of a destitute church? As I took them, gave them to him.
And are you gonna tell us who it was?
It's the coffin-maker.
Coffin-maker got a name.
His name is Henrik. Henrik is it's a strange old man, but and you see him like again looking nervous. He's sort of like his breathing is slightly lighter. So he sort of again eyes you all. You can tell that he's he's almost on the verge of trying to run if he weren't surrounded effectively by all of you, and again threatened with the fact that it wouldn't do much good if he was to try and do anything.
I mean,
so what you
I'm
said,
holding.
what your words?
No, that's what I mean by
Your words?
like.
Yeah.
Yes, true. Because me and Trundle are standing there with a mace and a scythe.
An honest threat is still a threat.
And
Sure,
Trundle's
but
there also.
yeah. And he just sort of again like he's basically pushed to the back of this alcove. He's not like reaching for the door or anything, but he's just sort of looking at you all with the gloom now kind of coming across his face. Excuse me. Sorry, beer.
You ain't in any trouble. It sounds like you did what you thought you needed to, which I get. But you've hurt people, and that's not okay.
I haven't hurt anyone. I did this so I could afford food for my sister. You call that hurting people?
Well, that's what toiling out here in the graveyard affords you.
Well, it doesn't afford enough food for me, let alone her.
I get the situation you're in is really...
You clearly have no idea. You wear fancy armor and you... Again, he kind of like winds down from it.
Dude, are you looking at my face? This happened like 2 days ago.
Well, he can't see. He sees you wearing a bandage over your face, effectively.
Okay, the reason I'm wearing a bandage happened 2 days ago. Right?
Have you ever left Vallaki?
There's no need to assume things about people. It sounds like you've had a rough time of it.
He points like as you say that, he sort of points at your shield and says that it's probably worth more than the house I live in. So
stop being defensive. Look,
you're putting me in a position where, and again he's like backed up in a corner. He starts sort of breathing slightly more heavily.
Calm down.
Don't tell me to calm down.
How much did he pay you?
Doesn't matter how much he paid me.
Because I also have money.
He just looks confused.
How much did he pay you?
Don't know why I should speak to you. Look, just leave me alone.
At this point, I'm gonna walk up behind him, put my hand right on his shoulder and say,
"There's a wall between you, isn't there?"
Is there?
Yeah,
Oh, right.
He's
Sorry,
in an
never mind.
alcove, effectively. The others are lining the front of it. Yeah. Unfortunately, going around the back hasn't really helped you gain the surprise on him, other than being another presence. But
here's what I want you to do. 1, me and my friend here, we're both healers. So if your sister needs help, we can come and have a look. 2nd, if you go and apologize to the kid and the father in there and say you're sorry and tell them what you did, I will try and give you whatever money this guy gave you. I don't have much, but I have some. 2nd, you just need to tell us everything you know about this guy. 3rd, that's 3 things.
Mm-hmm. I'll count them.
What's your intelligence again?
Minus
Go
one.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and just make it'll be a flat persuasion roll, because technically you have disadvantage. You have disadvantage on all your
Oh, sorry, I think I've got advantage clicked still.
That's alright. I mean, because you do have disadvantage on all your
What?
charisma-based
I
checks.
unclicked that double thing. What is happening?
That's not a double. You just did a normal roll.
It's just slow.
That's the normal advantage, yeah.
Yeah. But it's fine. You got 13 on the first roll.
Cool.
He sort of sighs and just says, "Okay, we'll apologize to the father, but I don't know what you want me to say. coffin-maker Hendrik, he stays in his workshop. He lives on the eastern side of town.
Do you have any idea why he might have wanted those?
He just shrugs.
Is he a big man? Is he scary?
No, he's a timid old man. He makes coffins for a living, and I don't know much else about him. But he offered me money, and
Have you seen him today?
he just shrugs. No, I have not seen him since giving him these bones.
Okay, so you go and apologize and pay your penance to the Morning Lord, and we'll be back in the church later. You let us know where your sister is at, and we'll come and give you a hand with her.
She does not require healing. He just trails off.
What does she need?
Aid. And I sort of grab Sadie by the arm and sort of just nod. Aid. And I'm going to release and then just turn and face towards the exit of this whole thing.
Mhm.
The whole church.
Yeah, I mean, it would be out of the graveyard the way you came.
Perfect. Fine.
He just sort of says. He doesn't really say much else. As you should say that.
Are you leaving?
We'll help
I
best we can.
He doesn't really know how to respond.
And we'll talk to the father about getting you a better wage, because you're supporting two, need more.
He just seems a bit sort of like he's hit like a wave of adrenaline that sort of hit him as you guys approached him as sort of is wearing off, and he's just sort of there kind of staring again, kind of brooding, brows furrowed, sorry, and just watching as you sort of move away and say these nice things, but he just sort of doesn't quite know how to respond.
That's fair. Okay, to the coffin makers.
And as you leave, you're like, shit, where's Rhea? As Rhea's still behind the hut.
Yeah.
I've still been able to hear this conversation.
Yeah, you're like 10 feet away, just out of view of him and whichever allies.
And reach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we,
so I'll start
before
to
we
move
go-
back towards the entrance as I hear them breaking up.
You're gonna steal his blood on the way out.
No, I'm not gonna steal his blood on the way out. I'm just gonna turn to him. I'm gonna pull a gold piece and throw it into the mud on the floor, and then step on it, and just say to him, one day, just one day, your disregard for others may cost you more than this gold piece, and I will just turn and leave.
Do I see that?
Yeah, you're right there.
Dude!
If he leaves, I'll leave with him.
Richard, that is not cool. That is not okay.
Endangering the lives of others is okay?
Well, he doesn't know that he's doing that.
Yes, he does. And I just
From your
leave.
insight check, you don't think he did.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I didn't do the
That's essentially.
I
that's
didn't do the
essentially-
insight check.
Yeah.
I'm going to
All I
take
see is
that
a
gold
cynical-
piece out of the mud,
cynical
wipe it on
boy.
my trousers, and then get another 4 out of my pocket and give him 5.
He just looks fucking confused.
Wait, you're a
That's
cleric, right?
reasonable. Yes.
Hashtag money.
I mean, if
follow
we
him.
want to
All
buy
that hard
healing
graft.
potions,
Close
someone
tail
needs to
of,
stop me doing this soon. But yeah.
Your generosity is costing you so much.
I'm looking at. Oh, there's. I can buy 4. I can buy 3.
Eyes, potions. You
Um,
know it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give him 5 total, and just be like,
He doesn't extend his hand out. He kind of shirks away from you when you approach. Really, just sort of
I
sitting
know
there,
I'm
like
scary, but I'm trying to do something nice here.
Take off the blind.
getting his.
And I'll like continue to offer it and be like,
He,
I don't know how, like,
Yeah, as you hold it out, he just like
I don't
slowly.
know how much this will be useful for you, but
Yeah,
hopefully some.
he slowly extends just a hand out and just sort of takes it and hears it jingle, and he just sort of doesn't know how to respond. Again, he just sort of looks at it. What? Why?
Because you need it. Sometimes when you just ask, that's the better way of doing things. Okay?
Again, he doesn't really understand your message, and therefore he kind of looks vacantly into the ground where the gold piece was sort of stamped in, and then just sort of like, yeah, he just looks like it's almost like he's shell shocked from this weird fucking experience of having a normal day, being questioned, being threatened, then being
Given money.
given a path of redemption, sort of, then being insulted and almost mocked, and then being given money. Yeah, so he's sort of like, at this point, he's almost lost for words, but not in like a thankful way necessarily. There is like a look of confusion, but there's a bit. I mean, with your passive insight as well, it's like a little bit intermingled. Like, I don't know. It's not even necessarily thanks, but it's somewhere along there, somewhere along those lines, which you probably can't even make out too well because he's fucking your blind sight. But you know, you can kind of see him just stare up at you.
Faces, kind of.
You can see faces, you just can't see eyes, and eyes sort of give a lot of the story here.
Yeah. So I'll be just like, I'm sure your sister deserves it, even if you don't right now. But you know the way to earn it.
Yeah. As you sort of turn, you just like you hear him sort of barely audible from the distance and from the quiet way he's saying it, just sort of like a thank you.
Coffin guy.
Yeah, you make your way. You don't actually know where the coffin maker's based, and you see at this point in time that the sun.
Did he say just the east
side of town. Yeah. So I mean,
oh shit.
you know, but it's around this time that the sun is setting. It is cresting below the.
I'd like to go back to the pub, guys. That's what I will be doing.
Time is of the essence.
As light.
I meet you guys at the gate to the entrance to the graveyard.
I mean, I guess it's been a week, so if he was gonna do something,
where were you?
Done it.
Hey.
As the sun's setting, I'd be like, I have some business to tend to back at the inn. Y'all are welcome to join me, but that's where I'll be heading.
I mean, I think we should do this together. We should probably go now. Like, I mean, just because the sun's going down don't mean the day's ending, you know.
Speak to these wolf hunters. You're aware of that, right?
Well,
That's my intention.
The sun's only just going down. They
Yeah,
won't
but
be going to bed yet, will they?
I know they're staying for a bit longer, but
Did you
we
tell
gotta
us-
pay them soon.
Did you tell us you paid them to stay longer?
Not for the extra gold, but I wouldn't. There's no reason I would tell you that.
Well, I'm just thinking if we don't do this now, we'll have to do it tomorrow instead of the wolf hunting anyway.
There's always
Gaza can't see that far. He just thinks he has to pay these people, and that is it.
Neither can Zadie because you can only see 60 feet.
I can't
described
even
as-
tell the sun's
as an
going
old
down.
man. The gravekeeper was described as like an old man.
Gravekeeper, the coffin maker,
Coffin maker.
two different people.
The
Described
coffin-maker was
as
described as a frail old man who wanted saint bones.
not I say frail, just
Ding, ding, ding.
short man.
If he's elderly, he may retire before we have a chance to see him.
I think we should head over now.
The wolf hunters will be there tomorrow, like they said.
It'll be tomorrow at dawn. Y'all happy to get up at that time?
At dawn? It would be my pleasure.
That's odd.
Well, how about this? I'll head over there, and then I'll meet you guys up afterwards.
Dawn's pretty late, right?
Okay, we'll split. Okay, let's split up, guys.
A swarm of confused faces. Dawn's pretty late.
So what would you
Yeah.
like to do? Where are you headed right now?
I'll do what the party does. I'm not gonna split. I just thought it,
So
a lion's nice.
I'm heading back to.
Yeah. Oh no.
Your face.
is that me or who?
No, it's just I think
Sir, can I speak?
Zadie and Gus are like exactly opposites here, and I don't know how to help.
Sure. Yeah, by all means. What would you like? Well, you got to make a decision. I can't make it for you.
I'm going to, while the rest of the party, I assume, unless anyone else wants to join me, going to head to the inn to pay these wolf hunter men for their time tomorrow morning till the afternoon.
Okay, and then
With
you'll
the gold
come
that I have
straight
in
to
my
the
pocket.
coffin maker. So if we
And then I
amble
will
real
head off
slow, you
to
might
the-
catch up.
I'll say if
Tell you
yeah, I
what,
was gonna say
someone's got some laces untied. Just take a couple of times. Okay, but a couple of
or
times to
you
do it.
what? I mean, put it like this: you do like to head east of town, you would probably follow the main thoroughfare. The main thoroughfare passes right past the Blue Water Inn.
Great.
So-
Okay, we can do both.
Alright.
Yay.
What? So sorry, is this called the thoroughfare?
Your bed.
No,
one
it
stop.
just it is the main thoroughfare in town. You know, this is
What's
still
this place
technically
called?
the old Svalich Road. The thing that runs through the middle. You do have the name. It is the old Svalich Road, but it is the main thoroughfare in town. You know, it seems to run through from left to right.
Sure. We'll go through the main thoroughfare with the rest of everyone else, because that's what we're doing.
So yeah, you walk through the center of town. It leads you to you lead yourself back to the Blue Water Inn. You still don't know where the coffin-maker is based. You know it's east of town. That's all you've got. And you're able to pay the wolf hunters. Blah, blah. God, name is so difficult. Soldar, SZ, Soldar, and Yegeveni. God, names are so difficult. For their time tomorrow, and they're sort of thankful as they seem to be. They're on another round of drinks. They seem to be sort of merry but not drunk per se. They're sort of
You've been here all day.
keeping themselves. Yeah, they've been here since you guys arrived. Yeah. So as you pay them, they thank you. They say, so we will meet you here tomorrow.
And yeah, just four more gold pieces passed.
And yeah, because that you had the money there. Oh yeah, it was Zadie who paid separately for giving Milovich. Yeah, cool. Okay, so you had the money. You note that indoors there's the two younger sort of looking guys aren't there anymore. They've moved out. There's a few other individuals in the
They've been mentioned so much, I feel like.
in the inn, and
Guys couldn't get his wolf hunt.
no,
Don't worry.
they moved.
Very excited.
Sure,
Like gang
and you notice that the individual who Trundle pointed out, who sort of had pointed ears, is sat back in the same space, sort of just reading a book, just sat at the table with a drink sitting there and a meal, which he seems to have eaten most of. But you sort of duck in, make your payment, come back out, and catch up with the others in a matter of a few minutes. You're all able to sort of wait out there as it's not too cold, even though it's been raining today. And you regroup outside. Still don't know where this place is. So what would you like to do?
The coffin-maker?
We don't know where that is. We're gonna guess. Let's carry on going east.
Probably has coffins outside it.
Cool. You head east.
Where's the first person we see? That
Oh,
looks
there.
like
You should have control of this thing collectively. Where would you like to go?
I'm not very good at card.
Is there anyone nearby that is a local or?
As you venture east, as you venture east, there you would see the occasional person, usually like lighting a lantern outside their homestead, or taking things back from wherever they were during the day. So it's not too difficult to stop someone over if that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Sure. There's like a woman with a couple of children as they sort of just look tired next to her. She's got her hand holding, walking with one of them, the younger looking one. And yeah, you approach.
Is Ilrina still with us?
Arena
No,
is.
she's
She's in the
No, I
church at
thought
the moment.
she's
Yeah,
in
she's
the
in the church.
Church,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just left to the church. Fine. Excuse me, madam. I'm just trying to get her, and then I'm trying to pull a couple more people in. Who is nearby?
Well, she sort of looks up and just goes, "Yes."
I'm
Taking
awful
back.
sorry here, but we're new here, you see, and we don't know where the coffin-maker is. Is it and I sort of point further along east to the road. Is it that way?
She sort of like looks slightly weirded out by the question, but just sort of goes, "Yes, it's there's the what's it called? Shit, I need to remember the name of this thing. There's the stockyard, the sort of open area. Looks a little bit like a market with wagons and whatnot, but just you go. It's the building to the west of there." And she effectively, without being direct, points you to this building here.
Perfect. I thank you for her time.
She sort of says, "Okay." And then she looks over and says, "Come on, Milo." And there's sort of the other kid that she didn't have like a hand holding. There's sort of a young girl. She's just like playing with the mud in the ground in the dirt, getting her shoes all dirty, and you hear her scolding the kid slightly as she walks off, and leads them again in the opposite direction to where you're headed. As again, it's now dark, but there's enough lights around town, unlike in, say, Barovia, the village of Barovia, where there was no one. Again, there's still very few people out on the street at the moment. You do see the occasional, as you make your way this way, you see the guards at a distance. You see a couple of the guards on the wall with torches, just sort of walking along the palisades nearest to where the gate is. But you're able to make your way round into the stockyard. Excuse me, where you do indeed come across a building that it's a couple of stories tall, has a sign hanging out the front above the door, very clearly.
Looks like a coffin.
Looks like a coffin. Yeah.
Perfect.
One thing to note is that the windows of this place all shut up tight, and again, it's relatively quiet tonight. There's no light outside this house. There's no light outside quite a few houses. It's not abnormal, but some of the houses have lit stuff up. This one hasn't, so it's just dark outside. And as there's a few sort of horses stashed up in this stockyard, and wagons aplenty. But yeah, you find yourself outside what appears to be the coffin-maker's house.
Cool. So if the answer is how direct we're gonna be here.
Yes, I was going to say, are we going for a full-on straight-up approach, like with the kid, or would you like me to see if I can go in around the back?
That's
First?
actually
I mean, breaking in is not
a good idea.
good.
She doesn't necessarily have to break in, but it wouldn't be bad to have someone who knows the ins and outs of a place without us necessarily having to go in yet.
That's we can't sneak around someone's home.
We can't, but she can.
At least
But
let me
that's- right.
At least let me do a sweep around the house and see who might be inside.
Just the outside.
Just the outside, I promise. I won't even climb up on the roof or anything, I swear.
Okay, I guess.
She'll just
Probably
levitate
not a
over
bad
it.
idea.
I can't levitate at the moment.
Oh, that is true. Okay,
I
can
don't
you?
know
to-
back yet.
I only
Trying to
had
step on
that
nothing.
Long rest I wanted for so long.
I
Step on
know.
nothing.
So you just
I'd be careful.
I'm hugely fond of long rests.
And you'll see it. 2020. That's when.
So-
okay, I'll be right back.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna sneak around the house, see if I can peer in through any windows and just get an idea of
Sure.
what's going on. In the...
You do a loop of the house. Go ahead and make a perception check for me, please.
Oh, great.
What did you think you'd have to roll?
I'll stealth for one.
I mean, it's late.
Animal handling.
It's late.
Ugh.
That's performance. You managed to roll performance.
Is it? Oh,
That
whoops.
is-
Well, it's
uh,
the same thing for me, really. But
Sure.
want me to do it again? Sorry.
No, I'm happy with a 6.
I'll take this.
In fact, I think you might even have an 8. No, do you not have an 8 perception? An 8 wisdom? So it would have actually been a 5?
No, I
No?
have a 10 with.
You have a 10. Okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do a loop around the house. There are 2 doors. There's one on like the northeast corner of the house, on the eastern side. So effectively the side facing this stockyard. There's one on this southwest corner on the south side of the house. And you count about half a dozen windows around the ground floor. Every single one of which has sort of metal crossbars. Not like, as in the actual window itself is sort of metal framed, much like an old sort of, the old style of window with, panes in between each metal crossbar. And on the inside appears to be shuttered shut, like internally. Every single window on the ground floor has that. You notice a similar number of windows on the upper floor. Yeah, that's it. Unfortunately, you count the number of windows. The house is, it's not in great shape, but you haven't walked past a house and been like, damn, that was in good shape. They've all been pretty, just generally in town haven't been great. But you walk around this one, you do a ocular pat down, and There are two. There are two doors.
Hold up, jabroni. I'll kill a pat down complete. You may proceed.
Right, I will knock on the door then.
Okay. As you knock on the door again,
I
just
come back around.
just
yeah.
there's a brief pause before you hear like sort of coming from within. It doesn't sound like near the door. Just a voice calls out and just says, "We're closed. Go away."
What should I say? Guys, what should I say? Should I say we're from the church? Or do you think he'd then ignore it?
Don't say that.
You have to speak
What
the
should I
truth.
say? What
Anything
should I
else?
say?
It's an emergency.
Speak the truth.
It's an emergency.
I should tell
It
the
kind of
truth.
is. It kind of is.
Speak the truth.
We just want to talk to you.
Biggest space.
Why are you
laughing
laughing?
ever? He's just like.
Yeah. Again, the
Hi.
Generosity will be our
yeah,
downfall.
the voice calls out again and just says, "Go away. It is late."
We require a coffin, and we have an expendable amount of coin.
Then come back tomorrow.
We can't.
They will still be dead.
We will
No,
need
we
it
can't
now, however.
tomorrow.
We are only passing through and require it immediately.
The voice doesn't really come out anymore.
How much money do we have?
We don't pay him anything.
Yeah, but I mean, we can just say an amount, right?
I
I
can't.
don't like humans.
Guys, I spent all my gold on them.
Trundle ain't
Wolf
got no
hunters.
fucking money, so.
Guys,
So
what?
you guys are
Guys,
on your
we're
own.
poor.
Is Rhea back with us?
Yeah, Ray's with you the whole time.
Oh, no,
yeah,
I
she's
think
she
she's-
moved around. Come back
Because
to
I
you.
can't remember.
Oh,
The camera has
no.
frozen. Yep.
Oh, bless.
She looks like a sort of
She looks so pensive, doesn't she?
She does,
yeah. No, it reminds me of like the religious paintings where sort of like they're looking
Yeah.
down at the baby. You know. There you go.
Oh.
And she's back. Okay,
Oh.
just a brief sort of
I
flicker
can
there.
still hear you guys.
I know, but you could. You were sort of looking just this way,
We
like
forget that.
your head was cocked to one side, so it was a little bit like that kind of like
Yeah,
Virgin Mary, Mother of Child. So it was just
Yeah.
looking down, like.
All you need is just like her holding Kobe and like a new dawn, a new.
Literally, he
How-
just woke up when you said his name there.
What do you think is
You
like a
can't
lot of
hear.
money for these guys that we could just throw out and say we're trying?
What does it matter? It's not like we're
A
going to
high
give it
five.
to him.
Did you find any means of climbing?
Yeah, but there's
I
no
imagine
point
we're not
us
doing
going,
this
like-
right by the door. Imagine we stepped away by this
Just-
point,
yeah,
seeing
we're
if we had no
whispering
response.
among
Because I'm not
ourselves.
going to sit outside the door and be like, "How do we break in, Rhea?"
Yeah, I mean, you step away. It's fine. I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, we need to like yell out an amount that's gonna like catch his attention. I just don't know what that would be.
I can still cast a spell, but I'd rather save that for
Oh, we
later.
don't do that. No.
I
one needs
believe
to
a
get
long
any-
rest is.
Oh, so we don't do that, but we were perfectly fine when it came down to that poor man in the
We will
chapel.
long rest shortly.
What poor man in the chapel? What?
Why don't we say we
I
have
shout-
that
I
kid
shout
with
out.
us?
Son.
Huh?
Why don't we say
An
we
amount
have the-
that'll comfort you. What? Name your price.
no response.
say we have the kid with us?
We are not going to lie in front of these. I mean, what? I mean, are we talking like 9 o'clock at night here, sort of thing?
You don't have to lie.
Maybe not quite that late, but it looks
7
like
o'clock, 8 o'clock.
yeah, say 8. It looks like, I mean, when you walk through town, any shops or blacksmith, the sound of the blacksmith was dead. You know, it wasn't moving. Wasn't making that sort of that fancy, the classic sort of ding ding ding. The only movement you really see around town that's still regular at this point in time are the guards along the walls. You see the little torchlight sort of bobbing off in the distance as they carry a torch. That's it.
So yeah, we are not gonna lie to these folk.
I mean, if our choice is lying or breaking in, I'd rather go for the lying, you know.
Gaza seems morally conflicted in lying. However, I know someone who isn't. Turn to Rhea again. We can't, but she can.
Fine.
You have to
It's
lie.
for the good.
I have to do the thing.
I could lie plenty, but that mostly will involve me casting spells, and I've already been criticized once for it, and realized that it's a terrible mistake to force people to say things they'd rather not say. But we will do it anyway should the time arise. But for now, let's try and be diplomatic about this. I say abrasively, just like, I don't know, different diplomacy ain't my jam.
I'm gonna go for a different tact here, and I'm just going to keep banging on the door.
As you go to again, you approach the door again and start just sort of
thinking.
I'm going to rabble rouse.
Yeah,
and
I'm gonna be annoying until you answer me.
You bang on the door for another about 10 seconds before you hear the voice again cry out. It's just like, go away! I'm trying to sleep.
No, keep banging.
We're a marching band, dear friend.
Sir, a moment of your time is all we need.
You are being relatively loud as you're probably having to call over the banging. That you are just banging on a wooden door. This is in the evening.
Trundle might step forward and put his hand on Cyan's shoulder and say,
Sorry, who?
You mean Sean?
Sorry.
You mean Zadie?
I'm going crazy. Sorry. On Zadie's shoulder and say, perhaps it is time that we let the people sleep. Maybe we should do the same.
I agree. Like, I'm tired, but we said we'd do this for the church. I think we have to. I don't know.
Then the word agree does not fit. And then I feel silent.
Oh, sod it. And I'm going around the back again.
Again, you see his ray just darts off behind, like, round the corner. Are you going to the back door?
I'm going to the back.
Sure. Yeah, you see she does around the south corner of the building.
Ray, don't you... Ray!
Are you still banging? What's he doing? Ray, come back here.
I've stopped now. It's like, Ray! No!
Right, seeing.
She zips off, out of sight.
Relax, a little B&E never hurt anyone except everyone Ray has ever B&E'd.
Assuming Zadie's arm is tired. Sorry, Zadie's arm is tired. Excuse me.
She's
Hard arm.
It's tired. I mean, it's a different thing. Excuse me. Her arm is tired. Jesus Christ. I'm going to carry on knocking as well. After her.
Just like pleasant knocks, not like angry mob knocks.
I mean, whatever you left it with, I'll continue it.
You hear the sound, like, I mean, after knocking for maybe 30 seconds or so more, you hear the sound of a door kind of slamming within the house. But that's it. No footsteps approaching or anything like that. You just hear a door slam within the house. Like,
I'm gonna
Rick, come out
go
to
for the
play.
back door.
you go
Try
for
and unlock it. Yeah.
try. Yeah, well, I mean,
We'll test it and see if it's unlocked. And
it's locked.
Yeah.
So you're gonna try. You're gonna try and
unlock it,
you're
please.
gonna try to take the lock. I'd say by the time you sort of like pull out your tools and start moving it, if people are following you around, you reach the corner as she's sort of starting to work on it. Go ahead and go ahead and make a check.
Okay. Thieves' tools.
Thieves' tools.
Where is it?
That's an 11. Bear with me. I'll check something here. Bear with me. Just want to double check something here.
Correcting my shit roll from my D100 earlier in the
Cool.
evening.
You hear a click as these locks look fairly rudimentary, and it sort of clicks, and you go to sort of open the door, and then you feel it just sort of hit something again. It's not. It doesn't even open at all. It feels like you've just there's something barring it from within, effectively.
Yeah. Why would he lock the door and barricade himself inside?
Because there's a bunch of people, like, trying to bash down his door right now.
We only started doing that in the last 2 minutes. 5 minutes, however long we've been standing out here, arguing about this.
3 hours. No.
It's sure as
It's
feels
dawn
like it.
breaks, and you're still there, like bang, bang, bang. No, so
You
We're
all
all
take a point
exhausted
of
now.
exhaustion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're on my wavelength now, Elliot. No, so it's been maybe 5 minutes, but you're standing there again. You click the lock. Whether or not it was like you're not sure. It felt like you did unlock it, but it's still barred.
Anyone want to come and try and force it with me?
No!
Bump, 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 bump,
It was just
bump,
the voice like squeak
Are,
almost.
are we really doing this? I mean,
Yeah, again, the banging on the door. You keep banging again. There seems to be no more response from within after the.
all right, let's do
Right.
the coffin.
Door slam.
I think we. Shall we retire, folks? It's getting awful late. Perhaps
I
we
feel like
see this
we might-
in the afternoon.
Yeah, I don't.
Let
Maybe we
us
should go.
retire.
Come, we got a wolf hunt
It is
tomorrow.
time.
We must
I
hope he
don't-
doesn't do anything with the bones while we're away.
I don't want to waste our time. I don't know. I don't want to spend time hunting wolves when we could be helping the church. They say that it's unsafe without these bones in it.
As she says that, Trundle just fucking like leaves. He ain't about that. Trundle makes headway for just the direction in which he would be going to rest. At your discretion.
Is there a chimney on this house?
Santa Claus, yeah.
Santa Claus stealing coffins. So,
Where came down the chimney?
Bear with me. Does it look like there's a chimney?
this is obscene. This is obscene.
Nope, there's no chimney.
Fuck it.
Is there a chimney on any of these buildings, though?
All the ones with the
yeah,
smokestacks.
Smoke, yeah. I guess so.
And the ones with the circular disc.
We
Little
can make
holes,
a
yeah.
fucking chimney.
Fuck.
There's no
Does
chimney.
anyone get any C4 in their
Unfortunately,
Dungeoneer's backpack?
I have a tinderbox.
We are not. No, this is insane. Like, I don't know. I don't want to leave that church unsafe any longer than we have to, but I'm not breaking into a guy's house.
Well, you
Well,
don't
this is
leave
where
me
morality
many other options.
Whilst I let you deliberate, I just need to pop to the bathroom again. Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Feel like a
Oh
racist
my
today.
God.
So, but continue.
The church
please.
is unsafe like the town.
How
Well,
long
they
have
think
these
they're
bones
more
been
unsafe
missing?
without the bones,
How long
and
have they been missing?
maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but
How long have they been missing?
a week.
And nothing is
They're
happening
probably dead then.
anymore.
I mean, the bones are pretty dead, I'd say.
I think so.
So it's fine. Yeah, it's gonna be fine.
Break down the door.
I don't know. It's just
Or
we're in this
we-
place,
we leave.
and there's one good place here where these guys are trying to do something nice and be bright and good, and even that's been destroyed here. Like, we need to fix it.
But this is where your morality comes to a crossroads. Sometimes we must do evil to protect good.
For once, I agree with him.
And we don't see eye to eye often.
What do you mean for once?
Mean what I say.
Just pat Trundle on the back like, I can always rely on my buddy.
I'm watching you.
Alright.
Nothing, DM. We didn't do anything.
We're still
Burn the
arguing
The
about it.
town is in flames.
burn the town.
Scorching ray.
What's that supposed to be? Smoke coming from the chimney?
Maybe.
I think
Harry.
someone might have drawn a makeshift chimney just to be.
The house,
No,
the house disappears, and you're never able to find it again.
Ah,
Is there-
it's
are there
a
any,
wandering shop.
I don't like is this ground just all like wet mud from the rain?
It's had a bit of time to dry. It did stop raining a little while ago. But yeah, effectively the pathway is more well churned. The other area is grass.
Okay.
It's just
I'm looking
relatively.
essentially for like any signs that he's like been messing with things outside of his house, like around the perimeter.
Sure, make a survival check. So like the kind of tracking.
Yeah,
I feel like survival's underused, and some people might say investigation.
there you go.
Oh,
Two.
ouchie.
Looks like some grass to me, folks.
Yeah, well, you start walking around the
Are you
house.
sure?
You start like pacing around the house, and you find a pair of tracks, and you start pacing around it again. And after you do another loop, you find a second pair of tracks next to that first pair of tracks. There's someone on the other side of the house following you.
I just look back.
No.
Trundle intervenes
Yeah, you're not. Yeah,
and follows those tracks.
there's 4 people. Ah! There's more of them.
There's a whole crowd.
The sound of them following you is
Did I
getting
really run into
louder.
something?
Thunder, we can't be hasty. There appears to be more of them. We should stay alert.
I think
Tell
it's
the others.
probably that Heffalump.
Thank you, brother.
Tell
Yeah,
the
it's
others.
the
My
Heffalump,
keenest of
thank you.
senses. I will use my perception, my keen smell, to smell the tracks.
I've heard about these
No.
creatures before.
Yeah, no, there's nothing to clean from it. The grass is standard. I mean, it's not freshly cut or anything like that. And there's like a little bit where around the back of the house and around the front of the house. There's a path leading up to the front of the house, thin, standardly worn. Around the back of the house, like right next to the door, there's a bit of where the grass is sort of eaten away, probably where people like sit and put on their shoes or kick their mud off their boots. So it's a bit more trampled. That's it. Like that's all you got. The walls of the house slightly flaking and cracked, but otherwise, they are what they are.
I'm going to bang on the door again and just go, "Sir, can you please just talk to us for like a minute?"
As Guz's arm gets tired, you sort of take over again.
Yeah, take over again.
There's no response at this point. You just keep banging.
Trundle, tiring, inspects the lock.
Sure. The lock at the front of the house, it looks, well, I'd say rare if you're there as well, as someone who knows locks, looks much like the lock at the back of the house in terms of functionality. Doesn't
You want me to try this one
doesn't
now
look like
as
it'll be
well?
very difficult to pick. Trundle, it's a lock. How much you know about picking locks?
Not a lot. I know more about brawn.
I mean, it doesn't like look flimsy per se on this side, but it doesn't look particularly complicated, and the door doesn't look too heavy. I'm not trying to push you in any direction or anything, but physically, with your strength and Guz's strength, or with the strength of the people in your party who are strong,
I mean,
it probably wouldn't be too hard to bust a door down like this down. You've kicked doors like this down in the past.
I'm tired of this foolery. If this is what you want to do, then we will, and I will make a lunge to just literally try and smash the fucking door down. Because Trundle wants to rest. If you guys have been hammering, and I did try to leave, and I did say that this was not the course of action. Trundle, now tired, will have a smash at this fucking door.
Go ahead and make an athletics check.
I'm just gonna destroy the door.
Motherfucker.
Yeah. So you take a step back as you say this in your sort of frustration, your voice rising slightly. Zadie sort of knocking on the door after Guz has taken a step back, and you sort of say this, and then as you sort of step back, you sort of take about 2 heavy strides forward, bring your boot up, place it right where the iron handle for the door is. You place it right underneath that, and just poof, and just with the sheer force of you sort of stepping into it and thrusting your body into it, you hear like a splintering of wood and cracking as the door just kind of like poof, lunges away. It's loud. There is a sound of effectively ripping wood, followed by the sound of clattering along the wooden floorboards of the house as the door swings open about a foot and a half, in terms of open, before it seems to get stopped by whatever was on the other side of the door, that's now probably on the ground, that was stopping it. And as you look in, you can see that the door's kind of buckled where your foot was placed, where the lock would have been. And on top of that, there's like a small jutting of wood at about 4 feet up the door, up on the door frame on the other side. Like something has been ripped off on the door frame that was there previously. Just a shard of wood.
Awesome. Then I'll draw my rapier, point to the slightly.
Oh god! Oh god! Oh god!
Let's hang about. I draw my rapier, point towards the cracked open door, and say, "Play your game, fools," and then sheath it again.
Fuck me, mate, for half a second.
What are you doing? Oh my god, I am so sorry. I'm just calling into the house, like,
Sadie,
sorry,
you may
we'll
as well
pay
step
for
in
the
by this
door.
point. No, we won't. You may as well step in by this point.
No.
And I do step to the side
It's
as if
already
to
done.
invite them into the house, which I have opened very so kindly for them.
It's already done.
Jesus
Already
Christ,
done.
right. Sorry.
And I'm gonna
Hell,
go in
yeah,
through
mate.
the gap.
Cool. So you step. Yeah. So as the door's sort of there,
you
you push
fucking
the.
banged on that door for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Wanted to talk. It was like 5
You
minutes
shove your way
last
through the
night.
door.
Talk to
Huh?
Yeah.
Trundle's impatient.
Yeah, Rhea shoves her way through the door. Again, it becomes apparent what's stopping the door from opening further. You could push it with a bit of force, not too difficult, as a sort of a large crossbar that was quite clearly in a bracket on either side of the door has been... The brackets themselves have splintered and ripped, leaving a jutting wooden spike on the side of the wall, as well as the large plank now down on the ground. The plank undamaged because it's like a thick, heavy piece of wood. The actual brackets, though, ripped off, leaving just, like I said, the shards, which have sort of scattered across the room. But within the room, surrounding you, again, all on the floor, none of like sort of really raised up in any way, are about 15 coffins sort of laid around here. They look of like, again, in the dark, because it is dark in here. Even with your dark vision, you can only really make out, you know.
I don't have dark vision.
You don't have dark vision. It's dark, but you can still, thanks to the moonlight and whatnot coming through, you're able to make out the shapes of a few coffins sort of dotted around the floor. But it's pretty dark beyond that. It's hard to see deep into the room. So yeah.
I'm gonna sort of look at the
Can I quickly just
hanging off hinges and go,
I want
"Nice
to listen
job."
to make sure
Yeah.
he's not like the guy isn't kind of as he just destroyed his door.
Sure, go ahead and make a perception check.
I like Ray's just wandered in and I'm just thinking, yeah, he's bound to come downstairs now. Oh no! It looks like. Hey guys! Did you hear that door?
To be honest, as this is happening, you're probably like just making your way back to back around to where the group is as you're looking at all the yeah. Well, there you didn't actually follow your own footsteps. I was fucking with you, obviously. But yeah, you're busy doing this kind of like inspection around the side of the house when you hear this thundering crack, and you make your way back round relatively quickly to the front of the house to see Rhea dart in. Trundle, have you stepped in, or are you sort of still just standing by the door and waiting?
I think he appeared.
He has disappeared. R.I.P. Trundle.
As has our paladin.
Yeah. So all the moral center and the instigator have left, or one of the moral centers, shall I say? But Rhea, you stepped inside. Anyone else? The door's still only a little bit ajar. It's a bit of a squeeze to get through.
No, I'm just gonna be going like, I'm sorry if you, we'll pay for it. I guess if you wanna sort that out.
I'm gonna stick my head out the door and say, Zadie, for God's sake, get your ass in here.
No,
We seem
I'm not
more.
breaking into someone's
We
house.
seem more guilty standing outside this destroyed.
I
door.
don't think you seem more guilty standing outside a broken door than walking through the broken door.
We're talking about someone
And
who
Doesn't matter what you
arranged.
seem, because you just are more guilty if you break into a house.
You're talking about someone who arranged the theft of a saint's bones and endangered the
agree.
lives
That
of
doesn't-
many people.
They're
Isn't
more-
that not more of a moral
Two wrongs don't make a
conundrum
right.
than breaking down his door?
Two wrongs don't make a right, and
He
we
did
don't know
desecrate
why
some
he
sacred
did it.
bones.
He might have also a dying sister. We don't know.
Well, then get in it and help her, because that's what you do, isn't it?
Oh shit. Oh.
I mean, I guess, but no.
Yes!
Got you there. Got you there.
So everybody's got a fucking dying sister.
I mean, you guys projected that. There was no
Apparently.
mention of death. But now, yeah. When you come back and you next see Milivoj, his sister's gonna be dead just because you guys conceived that she was ill. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
I thought
They
you
were
said
just
she was ill.
hungry. They just needed to eat. Give the man a loaf of bread and turn the sod off.
So, Rhea stands in the doorway here. Again, Richter, you make your way back to the front door as everyone else is sort of standing there in this kind of conundrum.
I step in.
Yeah, so Richter sort of moves his way through. Yeah, again, you push your way through. Again, you can see the broken
Thank
crossbeam.
you.
The door itself is like you need to actually force it open, and neither you probably would be strong enough if you like actually really forced it. But yeah, it's just kind of sort of forcing you into the corner of the room as you step in. You get a look around. You count a total of 13 coffins, and you see, because again you have dark vision, you see 3 doors leading out of this room. There's effectively like an L-shaped room, like a Tetris piece L-shape kind of thing. It's kind of thicker than that though. And in the south side, about 30 feet down, I'd say, you've got 2 doors next to each other, and then on the other side of the inside corner of the L, you've got another door there. So 2 doors followed by a door there. They all look to just be like nondescript wooden doors. But from what you can tell, based off of the depth of the house, none of these are the back door or anything like that.
Oh, Ray, if I was to hide, say, if you were to hide desecrated holy bones, where would you put them?
And I wouldn't leave them out in the front room for anyone who walked in to see. I'd probably hide them in an attic or in a
Walked
basement.
in.
So you walk in as
Right,
well?
broke down the door then. That was you, by the way.
I wouldn't leave it in the coffin. I think that's way too easy.
I think we should look for a cellar of some
You might
description.
have already buried it, actually. Let's go to the cellar, maybe. I don't know. You lead the way. I don't know what I'm doing.
But I can't see very well, so you better lead the way.
But I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just standing there with my hands in my pockets like, I don't know.
Oh, for goodness sake.
I wanted to go home and rest when we got to the tavern hours ago.
Sorry, that's over.
Trundle
I'm gonna
proceeds to lead the way and goes towards the nearest door or...
I like how Trundle's
I'm
so tired, he's just walking.
I'm
towards
gonna-
it.
Trundle is just so tired of everyone's bullshit that he doesn't even care.
Trundle is the DM. Just the DM's internal feelings.
Oh yeah.
What do you want to do?
Look,
Well, we can talk about it some more. No, just do it. Yeah! My internal, like, there's part of me which is
finds
like,
the nearest door.
I'm
Nearest
sorry.
door, trapdoor, fucking anything.
yeah,
and
I'm just getting you guys on
anywhere-
this.
Anywhere.
I'm just getting you guys
Anyway.
on this map. So,
Guzzle, what are we doing? What are we
so
doing, mate?
Trundle is fixing Zadie's thirst for fixing this.
so let me just check to see what you guys can see.
I
Here
want
we
to say
go.
problem, but
I hear you got
Like,
a problem. We made
On
it
the
10
one
times
hand,
worse.
this
Yeah.
is definitely not okay. On the other hand, he did steal Saint's bones.
Oh, so now you're starting to... Everyone...
Bear with me, just setting a couple of things.
We think.
and
Maybe
so,
he didn't though. Maybe the kid was
I
lying, or
I
maybe he
presume
has
that I
good
am the
reason,
first
or
into
maybe
this-
he's been possessed. But then if he's been possessed, maybe he needs help.
Sadie, please stop trying to
Why am I
rationalise
unable
everything.
to click on? Well, I'm not actually able to
I
click
need
on your
to
tokens.
rationalise it. I
Sophie.
can't not.
There is
Well, I
no
can
way
I
to
can click on it. I just
There
can't.
is no way to
people might be
rationalise
able
what's
to move
happening
their
right
own
now.
tokens.
It's weird. I want to update your token, but I can't because you're not
There
supposed
is
to
no
have
way to get
vision.
around this.
I can't actually click the edit button. That's really weird. We can do it.
Right.
Ian,
Dear
sorry.
fellow.
Am I the
Can't do it with
first to
any
enter the room?
tokens. Sorry.
No.
I presume I'm the first to enter the room.
No, it was.
No,
Because
I
I-
left
It
it
was
first.
Ray. Then
Right,
Oh,
right.
you did. Oh, you did.
Yeah,
Okay.
he walked in,
My
I
bad, sorry.
came in and contributed
For all the
absolutely
good it
nothing
did.
other than some sight, and then then you stepped in because everyone was just like, I can't see it. I
Okay,
don't know what
wow.
to do.
Outside,
Well, I
you guys can
mean-
see well enough, but I'm aware that some of you might have
Following
limited
kicking
vision.
open the door, my intentions would be to go and start opening a shitload of coffins because
Open the
Try-
door, okay.
Trundle's bored.
Sure. So Trundle, it is dark in there for you besides the illumination of the front door.
Honestly, Trundle is searching around. He is just. He is. All four walls are the places he's going, and he is going to check within as much of the in between as possible because
Sure. Well, I
he
mean,
knows
it is pitch dark.
that's the only thing. Well, even with disadvantage, any which way,
You can't see.
Cool.
There's very little illumination coming in through the door that
Still
hasn't been
does
pushed
not
open.
retract from the fact that Trundle is going to aimlessly walk around in his blind irritants from Zadie's insatiable need for doing this. He is going to kick around until he finds, and from what I can see on
You
the
stumble
thing,
into
I
a
don't know
coffin
how far-
pretty
Yeah, I
quickly.
stumble into a coffin, I'll kick around. If I find some wood, I'm gonna fucking
Don't
open
trash
it.
his place.
Cool,
Trundle,
you could-
what are you doing?
You can open it, but you can't see what's inside. So
I'm
it gets
gonna-
to, it gets to eat your face without you knowing. No, I'm kidding.
If nothing happens, then I'll move on.
I'm
Maybe
gonna
you
take it.
keep-
I'm
maybe
gonna
you
take
keep
it.
looking on the door
Yeah,
so
Rhea,
can
you
look
also
on-
can't see.
Yeah, I'm going to take a
shouldn't be able to
dagger
see.
out of my pocket. I'm going to go back to the door and say, Zadie, if you're going to sit on your ass and do nothing, at least cast light on this so I can see
I'm
what
sorry.
the fuck I'm
Sit on
doing.
my ass and do nothing. I'm just not being a criminal.
Well, casting
I can't-
light is not being a criminal.
Does
No.
Trundle hear this?
Driving a car to make you a
I'm not
Does
being
Trundle hear
quiet.
this?
Yeah, I'm
Don't
not
do
being
you hear
quiet.
We are beyond being a criminal. It is a criminal offense to keep me from sleeping.
Sudden alignment changes all around.
In, don't break into a guy's house.
So join us next week for campaign 2. No, sorry. So
Just fucking cast light on this. Do the thing.
Oh, fine. All right, I will cast light on the dagger. Just don't break his stuff. He might. We don't know what's going on. Maybe he's possessed and he doesn't mean to do it.
cool. Okay. As you
Yes,
cast the
come
light,
and
Later, I would say.
as you cast the light, you'll again it sort of illuminates the area for those of you who can't see. And Toddler, you start moving to the.
I crack open more fucking coffins. No, I'm kidding.
Sure. Yeah, they're not nailed.
To be honest, that's
they're not,
exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, they're not nailed shut. So lifting these open, they appear to be of fairly simplistic build. Like, you know, it's not quite plywood or anything, but it's nothing fancy. It's not well carved. But it would serve its purpose at least, and it's better than the ones that you saw. The very, very makeshift one that you saw Arena and Ismark's father in and carried him in, simply because that was made out of quite clearly the furniture in their house. So it is slightly better build than that, but not excessively. And you start pulling them open. You make your way sort of across to these 5, should we say, and open those 5. Nothing inside any of them. Whilst you're doing that, Guzza, sorry, what are you up to as this is all happening?
I think
staring
at
at each other and screaming.
It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are they doing? Like, we are not sinners here. We will wait outside patiently. I mean, I will have my.
Is that worse than if we let them go and do their stuff? Is that worse?
What do you suggest?
I don't know. Do we just need to go? I feel like we should go and knock them out.
Are you guys saying this quietly? Or are you saying this aloud?
No, I think we're quite loud. I think we're very loud.
I wanna cast message to either one of you two and just say, well, the devil makes work for idle hands.
Do I hear Zadie and Guz's conversation? Like, seriously?
Yeah, I mean, we're not
think
being
we're masking
quiet,
it,
so
no.
if you're by the door, then yeah.
I'm gonna
No,
keep
okay.
knocking on the door.
Well, maybe if you have any qualms with the situation, then we will take our leave. And I will point again at the door.
Please.
Please do!
I keep it open for him.
Wanted.
Please.
Beyond nuts.
So
We destroy a man's door, they're just like, fuck it, no one's happy, let's just go home. I wanted to go to bed.
what are you guys doing?
Calmly walks towards the door. If you
Thank
guys have
you.
nothing to say against that.
Please continue towards me and then the exit of this vicinity.
Might have opened a couple of graves though.
Yeah,
Or
popping up the
coffins.
coffins, popping up all the ones on this western side. They're all empty.
It's gonna cost so much.
I want to come and listen at this door in the corner, the
Which
upper
one?
one.
Right or down?
That one there.
I don't know which one you pinged. Sorry, right?
The one that's on its own, basically.
Okay. Go ahead and make a perception check.
I can actually see her doing this, can I? By chance? Or not really?
You can because she has the light on her dagger. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to. Effectively, although there's a bit of gloom outside, so you're able to see outside enough. Indoors, it is dark except to Rhea, so you can kind of see the coffins dotted between you and her. A 10. Listening at the door. It's quiet.
We
Break
are
through that door
leaving.
now again.
Sorry.
I'm gonna
Oh,
open the door a crack and
Cool. The door.
Rhea!
The door sort of creaks just as it swings open. You see into a room that looks much like effectively a workshop. You see tools, little hammers, carving instruments, a couple of tables with some, specifications drawn out of coffins. Very simplistic stuff that doesn't really make too much sense to you. But it is a long room, and you see as you sort of poke your head in and sort of again note no one in there. You see that there is a door on the south side of this room, which, based off of your intelligence, wisdom, I mean, whatever, your character is aware that is the backside of the other outside door, of the back door, and it's quite clear why the door was not opening, because similar to the front door, there is a wooden sort of crossbar across the center of it, maybe a foot and a half above where the handle is.
Trundle's quite good at dealing with those.
Are you following her?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, this ours.
No, that's all right. Also, Rhea, as you're there and you're sort of like listening out and whatnot, you hear in fact, say those of you in the house, just in general, go ahead and make perception checks. Another one, you can make another one instead of the 10.
Okay.
oh god.
hopefully I'll do better this time around. Hey!
Wow.
I'm staring at my shoes, being like, whose footprints are these?
All three of you hear the sound of... Sounds like something running upstairs. Someone running upstairs. Just a... Like a... It's quiet and it's sort of... You hear a bit of a creak of a floorboard. You see a tiny bit of like dust just trickle down sort of in this sort of area around here. I'd say as you see Rhea's light as she's sort of still in the doorway, you're able to see the dust sort of run down. Just a tiny little plume, but you hear the sort of... That's it.
Is it? Can I tell if it's right above or if it's further to one end of the house?
It sounded like it
or-
was above the main room, effectively. They say the main room, that L-shaped room which takes up a large portion of the house.
I'm gonna look at Zadie and be like, Zadie, can you look after him? And I want to sort of like walk in, just being like, you look after this. I'm gonna go grab Rhea.
Yeah, you guys didn't
walks
hear
out.
anything, unfortunately, as you're outside the house. But yeah,
Oh no, just because I see her running in.
Yep. You start making your way in with only her light source to guide you effectively.
Oh no, do I not have my bullseye lantern? Sorry.
Oh, you've lit your lantern. I mean, her light
Yeah,
source is
yeah.
enough for you to see, but sure, your bullseye lantern
fine.
cones out in front of you, and
I'm going to start walking into the workshop.
Mhm.
But as she
Rhea,
What?
there you go.
What?
We are not meant to be here. Come on.
I
Let's
thought
put my
this was
hand
the
up.
point.
Not on his terms. Not on his terms.
Look, we've come this
Just
far
come here, right?
already.
We can do it in the morning. Come on. Oh no, wait. Afternoon.
Damage is already.
Why?
Yeah, Richter does say that. Richter does say that. He whispers, but the damage is already done. Just like I'm just visibly confused that everyone's conflicting emotions understanding.
We can apologize. We can always apologize.
Guys, my dear
Trundle,
boy.
seeing that everyone seems to be vastly uncomfortable with the situation, makes a very calm exit. He just begins to leave.
cool.
What?
He makes his
He
way
says,
back through the door.
Huh.
Bang. Leave.
So it seems we are in agreement. We should leave.
What? I mean, now I'm gonna have to stay here all night to make sure no one actually breaks into his goddamn house. But yeah.
Trundle double backs on himself and walks towards the nearest fucking coffin.
Oh god.
I'm so like you go back
And
to
he's
the
gone.
inn. I'll just sleep here to make sure no one breaks in. It's fine.
I'm going to head down to this bottom door that I know isn't the back door and see if I can listen in at it.
Another perception check.
Seems reasonable. Starts kicking open coffins.
What are you doing? Why?
You start making your way down the south side of the four remaining that you haven't looked in. Or five, I suppose. There's this one here as well. The first one, there's nothing. The second one, there's nothing. 8 perception check. Yeah, you hear nothing. You hear the sound of coffins sort of being like creaked open and wood sort of occasionally as the lid slides off and slides to the floor. The occasional sound of just of that. But that's it.
Fully
And you have the sound
expecting
of
Ian to just
Guzza.
fucking kill us.
You have the sound of Guzza following you as well, being like, Rayo!
I mean, I'll fucking kill you.
Maybe you shouldn't have fucking banged on someone's door for 4 hours.
It was.
This
a
is what
few
you
minutes.
wanted.
It's
I'm
not
gonna
what- this
open
is not
the
what
door.
I can't hear you. This is not what
So the door.
You're just quietly
I'm
outside.
sorry,
sleeping,
I'm
like,
sorry,
This
I'm
isn't what I
sorry.
wanted.
I know.
This isn't what I
I
wanted.
want to. Just go.
Just quietly shouting at yourself.
I'm
So-
opening
Little
this door.
temple.
Yep. So as you open the door, the door creaks open. You see what looks to be a table with 3 or 4 chairs surrounding it. You can't quite see because the left-hand wall, extends for another 5 feet right here. So you have like a little 5-foot passageway just into the room. But you see sort of sitting at one of the things at the table, sort of somewhat crouching behind the table, like cowering, is this old-looking gentleman, a man with a longish beard, grey hair swept back, sort of age-spotted face at this table, which is a little bit decrepit. And there's just an unlit lantern hanging directly above the table as your light is able to illuminate the cone into this room. You see, again, a man sitting at this, or sort of sitting / cowering at this table. And as he sees the light come in, you hear this sort of, as he's there again, just sort of there, just sort of frozen in sort of shock from this, someone breaking into his house. What would you like to do?
Knock.
And he just goes, oh! He sort of starts like quickly.
Don't
like, just,
move, don't move, don't move.
He doesn't
Don't
listen
move.
to you. He runs off like he still, I say runs off, like scrabbles off
I'm gonna-
out of view.
I'm gonna dash
Cast a
across.
5th level help through
Sure.
hell or whatever.
Sure. I'll say based off of that, you're able to catch up with him as he sort of like, it's like scrabbles his way towards this door. Go ahead. What are you trying to do?
I'm just gonna try and grapple him, basically.
Okay, go ahead and make a.
This is sensible.
I believe it for you. It's an athletics check. You will hear
It
his.
will be. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for him it's
Truly are
athletics or
exploring
acrobatics.
What it means to be hell.
Oh God. Not my expertise. Oh,
All I wanted to do was
Cool.
something
He rolled a
good.
3. Yeah. This
All
old
I
old
wanted
man
to
sort
do
of
was
like,
sleep.
just like leave me alone. As he sort of says this, you're able to just sort of like grab his arm and swing him around slightly, and he sort of slams back into the wall, not like painfully, but sort of slams back into the wall. And as you're just there, sort of rushing after him, he just says like he just looks terrified. You all, Trundle and Guzzer at least, and maybe Richter, I'll say you do hear the sound of someone like slamming into the interior wall slightly, or the sound of something just.
Yeah.
Settle down. Sorry.
All right.
I'll let
I'm
you
gonna
go.
have to come. I'm gonna have to come strolling in as well now. I want to see what the fuss is about.
You
Right,
stroll,
where,
you stroll in there. There's no one in there.
The Trundle wardrobe.
But you can see.
If
Sure.
that's a.
Yeah. But you see as the door to the southeast is open, and making your way round. This was happening simultaneously. Rare.
So,
And Sadie
calm
sees
down.
everyone else leaves.
didn't come here to hurt you. Just don't struggle, okay?
That is so not intimidating.
can I hear where this
With
is
my
coming
glowing
from?
dagger.
Yeah. You're able to see the light coming out of the room.
I
You're
would go to
breaking
that
into
room.
this house, kicking open coffins, glowing dagger right at his throat, grappling the guy.
He just looks terrified. He's
Just chill.
yeah. He looks,
Totally chill.
and
I wanna go to the room.
he looks terrified. He's sort of just like, why are you here?
Because we have reason to believe you have something you shouldn't have.
Just look, I don't want it. Just take it, whatever you want.
What don't you want?
Here's
Take
money.
whatever you want and leave, please.
We
The
want what
bones,
you
old
took from the
man.
church.
Where are the bones?
You take them. They're upstairs.
Upstairs.
Why upstairs?
And who else is upstairs?
Just the bones.
And who was running around up there?
Do I believe him?
Go ahead and make an insight check.
There we go. Also, may I ask in the meantime,
Well.
is there a chair in that room?
But I hope I
There
do
it
now.
A free chair? May I recline in the chair? Sleeping
Chairs.
tiredly.
There are chairs.
Just
Trundle
so
will-
grumpy when you're
you're back
tired.
in the other room. Sorry.
No.
Trundle isn't actually that nice a guy. No, if there's a chair there, Trundle would like to, pull the chair away from said table or desk or wherever, and just recline nicely and put his arms, kind of behind his head and just stretch and just sort of wait for everyone else to do what they need to do.
So that's a 9. I mean, this guy looks terrified. Like, just from your insight check, he's just sort of terrified. Looks flustered. I mean, he's easy to read in that he's afraid. That's about all he's easy to read in.
Okay.
But
I just turned to Trundle. If we leave, we just quickly go check upstairs and leave you here. You got this covered?
More than fine.
Okay. Okay. Shall we? I just turn the right.
Continue
Certainly.
to sit.
And I'm gonna say, come along, show us where you've got them hidden. And I'm gonna sort of start forcing him through the door.
sure, you shove him through the door to the north.
Yes.
Sure.
I
okay,
assume that's the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, it opens back out into that same area. And as you shove him through, he just sort of goes, It's this way. And he gestures to the door, the only door you haven't opened here. Gestures to the door to the south, and we'll, if you're pushing him forward, we'll lead the way upstairs.
Yeah.
And you just sort of, again, looking absolutely terrified at, again, people breaking into his house. We'll
Take
make
it,
this way.
Zadie can see that we've now strong-armed this old
Yeah,
man.
Zadie, you do catch eye and sound of an old-looking man, probably in his 50s, 60s. Yeah, probably
Wait, I
mid
can
to late
see
60s.
this?
Yeah, they've
How
come
do I
back
see
out into
from
the
the
main
door?
area
Yeah.
from where you are at the door. You hear
Okay,
this a
in
voice you
that
don't
case-
recognize.
In that case, as soon as I catch sight of them, I'll be like,
Sure.
"What are you doing?"
As you see him,
Getting the bones.
as he hears you, he turns and says, "Oh, please help me! It's these people.
We're
They've
doing
come into
what
my
we
house."
could,
Oh,
I suppose. I don't take pleasure in this.
Hold on, just give him here. Come on, guys.
I don't know. I just kind of I give very disconcerting look like. I don't know about that one.
I think up to this point, I've always sort of been one room behind them, just trying to catch up with
Sure,
them.
sure,
Like,
yeah,
Every time they've been in one room, I'm sort of following just after. Being like, God damn it.
wait, where,
Zadie,
are you
he
on
has
map at
the
the moment?
bones. He
I give
says-
Guzzer a nice wink from the.
Oh,
from
you're
the
underneath,
table.
yeah,
Oh, I know.
Whoa!
I'm just playing.
Sir, did you take the bones from the church?
I didn't take them. The boy, he brought them here.
Why did you need them?
It was not from me. It was asked from someone else.
Who wanted them?
Again, you've already scared the living shit out of this guy as a weapon is being held. He says, "What? Are you with them as well? Oh God."
No, we're with no one.
No. He points to the others near him as you sort of come in. He thought you were not with them.
Oh, I mean, I was like 15 minutes ago, but I don't think so anymore.
Just sort of like looks confused at that statement. Doesn't really understand. Just says,
I did not want to break in.
"Sure."
She just wants to do the right thing.
If Strandor hears, he'll raise his hand silently in the corner.
I just wanted to get the bones back to the church. There's a lot of upset folk down there.
He just sort of has his hands up and says, "Look, they told me to ask for the bones when they knew about them, and this is
Who asked you?
this man, is a rich man. He said I would have good business if I was to help him." And he just sort of like again looks, just sheepishly around, just.
Hold on, guys. Can you
Good
just let go
business
of
for
him?
a coffin-maker.
Yeah.
Tell me how wrong that
My
sounds.
intelligence is 8. Hold on. Never mind that revelation.
Just get a calculator out. Just yeah, that's fine. That checks out.
No, I mean, good business for a coffin-maker means a lot of dead people.
Yeah, but Zadie's dumb.
Yeah, I'm trying to spell this out for you.
Sir, why don't we? Do you have like a kitchen? We can make a cup of tea and have just a.
He just looks at you like he looks at
Long
he looks
gone.
at you like you're an alien
Well, it's
as
not my
a glowing
fault.
dagger is held to his face.
I mean, or you can stay with her.
He doesn't
And
really
if
know how
someone
to
breaks
respond.
into my house looking for shit and then says like, you know what? Do you want to have a cup of tea? Just chat.
Look, this.
Go put the kettle on.
I do not know what is happening tonight, and I think I'm close to tears.
We
but-
go upstairs. We go
Hard to
upstairs.
tell.
We take him upstairs. We
Okay.
take him
No,
upstairs.
guys!
Pushing up the stairs. Come on,
Push
come
up
on,
the
come on.
Guys,
Ugh,
we need to know why he took them.
We can find out once we get upstairs. There's
I don't know why he wants them.
We do not know.
Who asked
He's
you?
being shoved upstairs at this point.
Come on, come on, come on.
Guys, stop! This is now breaking and entering and kidnapping.
We can't kidnap him. He hasn't left his own house.
Yeah.
It's still kidnapping.
Can't kidnap someone in their own house. You're doing it. Just saying, like,
We can't kidnap him.
can't kidnap him. Blade to throat. Yeah.
He hasn't left his
I know it's a technicality.
So
but
by the
what-
word of the Lord,
It's
this is all fine.
technicality.
This is fine. This is fine.
So
It's
Trundle and Gus are
okay.
just like So, you have a good weekend?
What put me in the past?
Trouble and Guzzer are sitting there like, this is escalated quickly.
Yes, indeed.
We need a plan.
What
Hey.
kind of
credit.
credits do you have?
It's like when they say the name of the film in the film, and you're like, oh. Yeah.
Credits.
Yes.
So there's two doors at the top of the stairs, and he just sort of like goes towards the one on his right on the left of the map. As you know, you're sort of heading up the stairs, and he goes to the door and just like says, "It's through here," and he just like opens the door, stepping into another room. It's a sort of a effectively, I don't quite know how to describe it. It'd be like a kitchen, an upstairs kitchen. There's no cookers or anything
Oh, so
like
he
that.
does want to. Oh.
No, and there's a door on the far side of it where he gestures towards towards his other door as he makes his way up the stairs. As you follow him.
I'll be following those two guys, being like, let him go.
Sure, you make you're right behind them. I'll say effectively you're like a tiny bit behind them as he just goes to this door. Again, opens it up and he, like you hear him sort of almost like swearing under his breath, but like almost doing like his Hail Marys quietly under his breath. As he just sort of gets shoved forward to this room, which he makes.
Praying.
Yeah, well, sort of.
Guys, let him go.
And he makes his way into this room and he goes to the wardrobe where he gestures to the wardrobe and says, "Look, they're in the bottom of there, but please, just take them and go."
And you don't know anything about why they wanted them.
Actually, who is they?
He just looks
A
shaken.
rich man approaches you. Where is he from? This place? Out of town?
As you're sort of asking that, he just sort of says, his name is Vasily von Holtz. And again, he's just sort of still being shoved, still surprised, still not quite sure how to act. Again, he sort of just stands back from the wardrobe and says, "Look, they're in there. There's a compartment underneath the base of the wardrobe. You will find them in there."
Is Vasily from around here?
I do not know.
So he must be passing through then, if you don't know. Surely everyone here knows everyone, right?
He sort of looks and says, "It is a big town. There are other towns and places around here. You seem to be a rich man."
Around here.
I'm going to do the traditional road thing and check for traps before I open
Sure,
this.
go ahead and make an
path.
investigation check as you do so.
What is wrong with
I mean, look at like you look at it. There's like a, I mean, it looks like there's a not so much a shirt.
There's a door.
No, there's you open the wardrobe, like it's already kind of ajar anyway. You open the wardrobe and there's like a sort of a shirt thrown over the bottom of here. There's a few loose garments hung up, but the shirt down the bottom kind of obscures any chance of really doing anything without moving it. Do you move it?
Yes, I will.
Okay, so you sort of just pull it away. You look at it, and being that you've been told that there's a secret compartment down there, you glance at it, and it's not something you notice. It's pretty well designed in terms of it, but you do notice that there's like where an eye, like a wood eye, if you know what I mean, would be.
Not in the wood, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Not thank you. There's a small almost like a finger hole, maybe a centimeter wide at the very back on both sides, and it looks like it'd be able to sort of be lifted up and out to fold towards you.
Can I use my mage hand to do that? Put a
Sure.
finger in the eye hole and
Sure. I mean, it looks like there's two, but you're able to use your mage hand and just taking a step back.
Think one in the stink.
God damn it. You're able to sort of use the mage hand again invisibly at the back, and it starts to sort of just like creak up and open, and as it does, it falls open. Nothing seems to go off, no shooting of anything, no explosion, nothing like that, but it folds open, and inside you see a bundle of rags, which is quite large, filling up most of the space, about let's say maybe 3 feet long. A bundle of rags sort of bundled up quite heavily, and a small bag next to that, which looks to be a coin purse.
I'm gonna pick up the coin purse.
Mm-hmm.
Turn to the guy.
It jingles quite a bit.
Yeah, I've turned to him and say, "Is this what you get for taking these?"
He sort of looks at you, nervously, says, "No, those are my savings."
Leave.
I throw them at him.
Cool. You throw them at him. It sort of hits him in the chest unexpectedly. He sort of like fumbles for them as they hit the ground. As this happens, and he steps back slightly. Can I just get a perception check from everyone, every single one of you?
Okay.
Even those on different floors.
Mhm.
Intriguing.
The goddamn guards have noticed that we've broken into a goddamn house.
Zadie gave herself.
Sorry, perception. Yes.
Zadie gave herself advantage, but you still got a 13.
Okay.
I keep unclicking it and it keeps coming back.
Poor Trundle, man.
Okay.
Well, you know, I just I'm really,
Ray-
I really
yeah.
care. I'm super awake, and I just really want this to happen.
Yeah, Ray, you are you're kind of preoccupied at this point in time. Oh god, this is tough. Guzza, you hear something faintly, but it's made clearer by Trundle's sort of reaction to sort of look up as you see a tiny stream of dust trickle off the floorboards above you as you hear the sound of coming overhead. Doesn't immediately indicate to you that anything's wrong, but you hear it. You hear it distinctly. It sounds like someone running at pace. And Richter, you hear this. Zadie, you do hear this faintly, but mainly because the door next to you bursts, slams open as you just see a form of an individual, pale, hands sort of outstretched, looking at you with eyes almost burning bright, just go ha and start running towards you.
He killed the party.
It is.
God.
As you see an individual burst their way into the room, physically powerful looking, pale, arms exposed. But the more disconcerting thing is, you hear the sounds of at least 2 or 3 more footsteps behind them, and that is where we're going to end the session because we've hit 11.
Magnificent. Cool.
As we end on that note, so.
Well done, everyone.
Well done for not dying that session.
Not yet, Ian, but I mean, honestly, you have been so very kind as to not kill us for at least since I broke that door down.
Yeah, exactly.
At least.
So at that moment, and as this happens, as you hear this sort of this, you just see sort of Henrik there, sort of just like, and he just sort of like holds his hands to his chest and just sort of again just like seems to not quite start in prayer, but just sort of just like try and close himself off from everything.
Sorry, could I quickly inquire as to where that is actually coming from? Same floor as which floor is that? Sorry.
Above you. It's not in your floor. Dust
above.
came from the ceiling above you.
All right, cool.
And I'd say those of you on the ground floor, you do hear the sound of sort of like
I mean, I got a crit.
a cry. Yeah, exactly. You hear the sound of but to be honest, you don't have the context on it, which is why it's like less important because
totally.
you just hear footsteps, but it's fast,
That
and then
does make sense,
the thing that does perk your interest is the sort of the and to you with the crit smell of death.
Yes, the perception is.
There was already a faint smell of death in this
smell,
place,
yeah.
being that you're in a coffin-maker's shop, but it smells particularly potent right now. And like I said, that's where we're ending it, because obviously I know we've gone past 11. Good session,
everyone's
guys.
gonna have a really
Obviously,
nice time watching us next week. All perish in our.
they will. So I'd like, obviously, you guys, send me a vote for Hero Point, and obviously we'll do that in wind down time. But yeah, good session. Darting all over the place, going to several different locations, and apparently the title of this has never been more apt because you need a fucking plan, and instead here we are without a plan and in a bad situation. Everyone's still alive for now, bro. For now. Anyway, thank you so much, guys. I know we had a resub earlier from Cart for 8 months. You're nuts, man. Because 8 months is a nuts time to be subscribed to anyone, and you've chosen to
That
subscribe
is
here.
quite magnificent. Thank you to you.
Yeah.
That is actually super cool. Wow.
I'm
8
almost
months.
disappointed that you've only subbed for tier 1 because Cart was like the only tier 2 sub besides another guy, Freddie.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
who's a
but
tier 3
put
sub.
him down. Put him
Yeah.
down, Ian. Oh,
I would. He's one of my.
Thank you so much for the 18 months, but could be better.
8 months, and he knows what I
Sorry.
mean. I know. I you know I see him here a lot of the time, so I will tear into him if I want.
I'm just
to.
playing.
I know. Thank you for the 150 bits as well, Boo. And I know there were some real follows in there, in amongst this fucking bot wave that seems to be following me. So I'll just pick out some that I can tell are definitely real people. There are some, if I can fucking find them, because again I'm getting followed by bots, which is fucking shit. Because then this happens and I have to scroll through to try and find real people. There's Calm You. Thank you for the follow.
Thank you.
Galaxy Eyes 99.
Lovely name.
Yeah, I can't tell if Belly GHZ5, Belly Gigahertz 5 could be a person or not. I don't know.
That's gotta be right.
It could be, because usually it's a woman's name or a man's name followed by a few characters followed by some numbers.
Roger.
So it could be. Richard
Simple.
McSunday. And then I think that's it in terms of real people, but I can't fucking tell. So thank you very much.
If there were
guys.
other people who are real, thank you. But no, thanks to all the
Yeah.
people who were there. That's amazing to have the support. That's what's really cool, that people actually enjoy chilling out with us and us sort of netting out and doing our own thing and breaking down doors and causing trouble.
Yeah, kicking ass.
If anyone does
broad
survive,
brush.
to get back,
Broad
there's going
brush
to
of
be some
saying that,
interesting
by the way.
conversations to be had.
Yeah.
Oh yes, and
Yeah.
after we have a long rest, I think there's going to be a few words.
I mean,
exchanged.
I have a feeling you might have a very long rest.
Oh
so,
yes, a very very long.
yeah, very long rest. Is
At your
incoming.
discretion, DM.
Well, there's some helpful coffins downstairs.
Well, exactly. Of all the places,
Yeah.
to have a TPK,
This is
you'd be ready.
Death House Mark II.
We shall
We'll
see.
Continue the campaign all as vampires
Uh,
working for.
We kind of
Strahd.
defeat the point a little bit, but why not? So thank you very much, guys, for watching. If you're watching this later on YouTube, you can watch us live as well on Twitch. I can't really do it vice versa. It doesn't really work that way. I guess you can. If you watch on Twitch, you can also rewatch on YouTube. We put up all the episodes. They're all live, up to date.
True that.
So thank you very much. But we're going to go chill for a little bit. I know Sean's going to have to go, so I don't want to keep her waiting too much longer. But thank you all for watching, and we will see you next Tuesday. And you'll see
Magnificent.
me. You'll
Thanks,
see
everyone.
me. You'll see me Thursday.
Yeah.
If you're
love.
going to tune in to watch them Slay the Spire, which I really like playing. No, I do enjoy it. But peace out, guys. Thank you so much.
Peace.
Bye.
Godspeed.